It's the Mixed Martial Arts Hour with
The Mixed Martial Arts Hour back in your life on this Monday, May 9th, 2016. Hello again, everyone. I'm Ariel Helwani inside our New York City studio. Great to be here with you for another episode of the show. Hope you had a great Mother's Day. In my opinion, mothers, this is my hot take to start the day. Mothers, there's no better human being on earth than mothers. So hopefully in some way, shape, or form, you got to celebrate Mother's Day yesterday. The transformation, if I may wax poetic here for a second, the transformation, when you get to see this happening in front of your eyes. I got to see my wife go from a friend, a classmate, to a friend, to a girlfriend, to a fiance, to a wife, to a mother. That transformation, that final step is unlike anything I've ever seen. So I hope you got to honor someone special in your life. And a special shout out to my mom. Mama knows, our number one fan, who doesn't miss a single minute of this show each and every week. Believe it or not, she sits down to watch the show, and she could probably school all of you in MMA talk. Best believe that. So happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, all the mothers who watch this program. Appreciate you very much. So much to discuss this week. Another fun weekend of MMA action. You know, there are essentially, in my opinion, there are 5 major promotions that, as a website, MMAfighting.com, I think we cover on a regular basis. Of course, the UFC, Bellator, World Series of Fighting, Invicta, and ONE FC. Now, we talk about others from time to time, but I think those are the 5 main ones right now. It always changes. 3 of those held events this weekend. Friday, ONE FC had a fantastic card. Haja Gracie with a big win. But if you missed the main event between Mei Yamaguchi and Angela Lee, you really did miss one of the very best fights of the year. And I'm not just talking about women's MMA. One of the very best fights, period. A 5-round, fantastic title fight to crown the first ever ONE FC, or ONE as they call it now, atomweight champion. That's 105 pounds. Angela Lee, 19 years young, born in Canada, I might add, with an unbelievable performance. The action on the ground, the comebacks, the highs and lows for both of them was nothing short of amazing. A true joy to watch. If you have not seen that fight, go out of your way to watch it. Just amazing stuff. And I predict we'll be talking about that fight at the end of the year. So ONE had a great show Friday morning. Invicta had a solid show Saturday night. Tanya Evinger retaining her title, then kissing the post-fight interviewer Laura Sanko. Open mouth, I might add. So, and I think it was after she puked as well. It was awesome stuff. Former UFC strawweight Angela Hill proving that they probably gave up on her a little too soon. But this is kind of like a demotion in AAA. I mean, let's just be honest. She becomes champion, and maybe she gets to move along at a more normal speed. Now she's getting a nice opportunity in Invicta. I suspect we see her back in the UFC sometime in the future. And then the UFC made its debut in the Netherlands yesterday afternoon, a very special Mother's Day edition of UFC Fight Night on FS1. And what a card that was. Wow. 13 fights. The main 4 were incredible. Germaine Darandami in front of her home country crowd. Very emotional, soaking it all in. Huge win for her. And then we went to Gunnar Nelson. Wow, what a performance. Gunnar Nelson, a lot of people, I felt, were writing him off after the performance against Damian Maia, and it was not much of a performance, if we're being honest. He was thoroughly dominated by Maia. He was on this show last week talking about, just feeling off in that fight. Well, he came up big against a guy who had looked very good thus far in the UFC's welterweight division, Albert Tumanov. He submitted him in the second round with a rear naked choke. When Gunnar Nelson is on and flowing and just doing what he did yesterday, he's pretty fun to watch. And I'm not quite sure what his ceiling is just yet. And I don't want to put him in there against, the Maia type. And again, the Maia continues to prove after his wins just how dangerous he is, like with Neil Magny, like with Nelson, Ryan LaFleur, to an extent as well. Maia continues to be slept on. He is fighting this weekend against Matt Brown, coincidentally. But that was a great win for Gunnar Nelson and the SBG team. Then in the co-main event, how about Stefan Struve? Just needed 16 seconds in his home country as well to defeat Bigfoot Silva. You got to be happy for him. 3 years that he'd probably like to forget, and he comes up big in a really big spot for him, fighting in front of, again, his home country, and fighting a guy who could be dangerous, although no longer as dangerous as he once was. A short right, then some uppercuts, a knee to the solar plexus, and then some elbows from hell for Stefan Struve. Very happy for Stefan Struve. And then, of course, in the main event, Alistair Overeem extends his winning streak to 4 in a row. Karate kick in the second round, then finishes his teammate Andrei Arlovsky. Will he get that title shot? You can certainly make a strong case for it. So a lot of fun stuff this weekend. We'll talk about some of that. And of course, we look ahead to this weekend, another busy one for MMA, Bellator MMA and the UFC going head to head. UFC with a much stronger card. It's UFC 198. In my opinion, maybe the best card ever put together by the UFC for a local crowd. And I'll explain more later. I've talked about this before, but 198 is just perfect for that Curitiba crowd. Okay, let me run down today's show, and then we'll get right into our first guest. At around 4:05, we're going to hear from Invicta's own Roxanne Modaferri. She actually has a new book out, one of my favorite characters in MMA, and I always love talking to Roxanne. She wants a title shot in Invicta. We'll talk to her at 4:05. At 3:45, we'll talk to the aforementioned Stefan Struve about his big win, where he goes from here. Around 3:25, we'll take some questions and comments, so stay tuned for that. You know how to hit us up. 3:05, Alistair Overeem, the Reem. He'll be here. Hopefully, we'll have a good time. No misunderstandings. Will he get that title shot? We'll see. 2:45, Gilbert Melendez is going to join us. He can attest to this. I've been trying to get Gilbert Melendez on this show for almost a year. I maybe have asked him 20 times. Finally, he is joining us. If you missed the news last week, he's fighting Edson Barbosa July 23rd in Chicago. 2:25, Bellator CEO Scott Coker will stop by to preview this weekend's event for Bellator 154, I believe it is. 2:05, the legendary Randy Couture, who's doing some cool stuff for Bellator. Always a pleasure to talk to Randy. It's been a while. He'll join us at 2:05. 1:45, one of our favorites, Gegard Mousasi, will stop by to talk about his fight at UFC 200 against Derek Brunson, and also being in attendance yesterday in Rotterdam. And 1:25, Ben Rothwell will join us. His first interview, I believe, since his loss to Junior Dos Santos a few weeks back. So a lot to get to, a lot of people to talk to. But first, let's go to the Skype machine and welcome in my pal, colleague at MMAfighting.com, the one and only Marc Raimondi is in the house. Marc, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I am doing great. It always feels like you're sitting right here, like we're staring at each other face to face.
Maybe I am.
Okay, that's just creepy because the internet connection continues to get better. Yes, it's almost like 3D. I like it. Well, it's good to see you, Marc. Before we get into all the news and everything going on, how are you doing? Because the MMA world stood still last week when you tweeted out that you were in the hospital. I mean, we were just, I could not concentrate on last week's show, just worried sick about you. How are we doing? Tell us.
I'm fine. I had a surgery last week. I had my gallbladder removed. It was an issue I've been having for quite some time with gallstones, and I finally got it taken out.
Damn.
And I should be back this week and back ready to roll. Not a very invasive procedure, but I was in the hospital for about, I guess parts of 5 days. Probably lost like 10 pounds. I could probably challenge Mighty Mouse for the 125-pound title right now, But no, I'm doing fine. No more painkillers. I'm good to go.
That sounds very painful. Are you in pain right now, or are we feeling better?
No, I'm feeling better.
Okay.
No pain.
Good. But certainly you kept up to speed with MMA. I could tell you're tweeting, you're watching things, you're dropping your 2 cents on a whole bunch of stuff. So I want to ask you, because I know you've been following, and of course I'm happy to hear that everything is going well and that you're feeling better. I mentioned 3 solid events this weekend. 3 of I think the 5 main. Am I wrong with that? Like, there's 5 main organizations that we sort of follow event to event. I think did I miss any?
I don't think so. I mean, that's pretty much right on.
I mean, of course, there's Bama here and Cage Wars and others all over the place, but those are the ones that we go event to event, I feel like. Putting you on the spot here, I didn't ask you this question beforehand. Who was the MVP of this weekend? Which performance stood above the rest? Who were you most impressed by? And we could pick from any one of those shows.
That's actually a really tough question because there are a number of, as I kind of ran down at the top of the show, there are a number of impressive performances, but I just keep going back to that women's fight for one on, I guess, Friday morning for us here in the States, and it was Friday night for them in Singapore. But Angela Lee is 19 years old, and man, she just seems like she is so far beyond her years in terms of her poise and her abilities. It's almost uncanny. Now, Mei Yamaguchi is someone that fans in the United States probably don't know very much of, but she is a solid, grizzled veteran who's fought some of the best in Japanese women's MMA for a very, very long time. She has more than 20 pro fights. And Angela Lee came into last weekend with only 5 pro fights, 19 years old, and Mei Yamaguchi's in her 30s. So for Lee to win that fight the way that she did, and what I think was one of the top 3 fights of the year so far, I'd probably even put that fight right underneath Lawler Condit. I put Tate Holm up there as well. But I would put Lee Yamaguchi right there. For her to do what she did in that fight, I think Angela Lee is the MVP of the weekend. I think that I think her ceiling, her future is scary. I think it's she's marketable, she's charismatic, she's an exciting fighter. Obviously, I think that was the thing that stands out to me the most.
A few people online yesterday were saying, "Oh, why didn't you get Angela Lee on the show?" Well, rest assured, I tried. She is traveling today. Hopefully, in the future, we could get her on the show. I don't know what her contract situation is, but one needs to sign her to like a 20-fight deal at this point. Yeah. I mean, she could be their star. Not only, and I know she sort of breaks barriers, and I believe she's done interviews about this. I mean, just women in certain parts of that world in Asia, just they don't get the same kind of respect. And I think that she actually received a lot of hate for being in the main event. I credit one for putting her in that spot above the Roger Gracies, or the Haja Gracies, I should say. But they need to sign her up, because she could be the one to really open a lot of doors for her. For them, I should say. For one, yes. She is the one. She is the one for one.
I mean, already at 19 years old, we're talking about her as one of the most popular people in the organization, at least for us here in the States. I mean, when you think of one right now, you think of Ben Askren, you think, maybe Shinya Aoki, you think of Bibiana Fernandez, and then you think of Angela Lee, and she's 19. That's scary. I mean, it's crazy to think, where she's come in a very short time and where she's going.
I was surprised, though, and I don't know if this means anything over there, but when that fight happened, she had like 1,600 Twitter followers. That's pretty amazing. Now she's over 2.
I'm not sure what, if they use, like in Asia, if they really use Twitter, or if there's like another social media thing there.
Yeah.
I know there's Facebook in that part of the world, but I'm not sure if Twitter is that big there.
Well, again, if you missed the fight, do yourself a favor. Just fantastic stuff, especially on the ground. It was really a lot of fun to watch, and also fun every time you watch a one card to just see the different kind of score. I mean, it's not round by round like it is here in the United States. It's more old school pride. They score the entire fight, and personally, I thought they got it right. Okay, let's talk about Rotterdam, and it was a great card. The crowd was fantastic, especially for a country that has been somewhat lukewarm to MMA, more of a kickboxing nation, as Overeem reminded us yesterday and all throughout the week. But they really stepped up, and they treated their local heroes like superstars. Overeem comes up big win over his teammate Andrei Arlovsky. Does he finally get it? Now, let's not forget, Overeem was supposed to fight for the belt back at UFC 146, and he kind of disqualified himself on that one. But does he finally get that title shot now? Has he done enough, in your opinion?
I think so. I really do. I tweeted yesterday after the fight. I think that how can you argue against Overeem at this point? Some people said, oh, well, what if Cain Velasquez beats Travis Brown? I still feel like what Overeem has done in the last few fights outweighs that. He's knocked out Junior Dos Santos. He's now knocked out. He had the big win over the weekend in Rotterdam. I think he's on a roll. I think he's a guy that fans really enjoy. I think that, he has the personality, he has the charisma, and I think this is his last run for a guy who's been around for a very long time. He's a legend, he's a legend in MMA, and I think it is his time, and I think that he should get the winner of Verdum and Stipe.
They could do no wrong, because I think outside of the champion, of course, he really comes with a very loyal following. People love Overeem. They've been watching him for a long time. He has a history with Verdum. Fought him once in Pride, fought him again in Strikeforce. The Strikeforce fight was truly bizarre, and I'd love to see the third one, but you can go back. They own that footage, so you have a trilogy fight that's spanning like a decade for the heavyweight title, and then against Miocic, if he wins, I think that's a fun styles matchup. Now, I do feel like Cain Velasquez, he has an argument. And if he wins in July, he's certainly in that discussion. But if I'm the UFC, I'm telling Cain Velasquez, you need to prove to us that you can get through at least 2 more training camps healthy. I mean, you can't keep booking him in title fights and him pulling out. Isn't it amazing? We have a heavyweight title fight this Saturday, and nothing has happened yet. Now, I'm knocking on my table here. No injuries. I mean, when's the last time we could say that? It feels like it's been decades, right? It's always something with the heavyweight division. Verdum and Miocic are 5 days away from fighting. Cain needs to prove that. So that's why I say go with Overeem, and especially the timing works out. He fights, he fought a week before the title fight this weekend.
Mm-hmm. Don't kick the hornet's nest, man. Let's just let sleeping dogs lie. Let's not mess around. Let's hope this fight happens on Saturday. But yeah, I completely 100% agree with you. There's a story there with Verdum and Overeem. Overeem versus Stipe is a fresh, interesting matchup. I think that Overeem is the next guy in line. I'm not so sure about Madison Square Garden like he said on Saturday, but I do think that he is the next guy in line for that shot.
MMA Junkie reported that they spoke to a UFC official who said that he is the next guy in line, but it won't be at MSG, and I could see that. It doesn't seem like, and I give him props for dreaming, but it doesn't seem like the perfect MSG fight, other than it being for the heavyweight title. Now, not a lot of people spoke about Arlovsky afterwards. It was all about Overeem, 2 knockout-ish losses for him. And I'm not calling for him to retire at all. I want to see finally, and I know there's interest on the other side. I want to see Arlovsky, Josh Barnett next. I feel like that's a fight years in the making. What do you make of that fight?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a fight that could have happened, right? A long time ago, like in the mid-2000s back in the UFC, when both of them held the belt. And I believe Barnett lost the title, right? Not in the cage, but because of the failed drug test. And then Arlovsky was the guy to win it after that. So that's a fight, like you said, that's more than 10 years in the making right now. That's a really, really cool fight. I'm definitely with you on that one. I could see that headlining. I could headline a fight night card, even though both guys coming off losses. Both guys had the names. They're both legends. They're both all-time great heavyweights. I'm down for that. Sign me up.
Maybe put that on a card if they go to Russia next year. But Barnett's certainly popular overseas, and
in Japan. I mean, Josh Hughes in Japan. Of
course, that is a good call. I do wonder what it will be like when Overeem comes back to Jackson's. And I know some people will say, "Oh, you love the drama," but come on. I mean, you don't think that's going to be a little weird?
Oh no, it's definitely a lot weird. I mean, I think it was very difficult for that team this whole week and leading up to the fight. I know that there were people down there who were torn because Andre is a guy that, they really embraced him. They brought him into the team, and he kind of remade his career down with Greg Jackson and Mike Winkeljohn. He turned everything around. He went on that winning streak. He became a title contender again, and they really, really love him down there. They love his dog Maximus. He's always in the gym. And Overeem, the same thing. He came in and he had some big wins, and they were both flying the Jackson Wink banner. And I know that it was really, really tough for those guys down there to have them fight each other because someone has to lose. That's the thing. And no one wants to see your teammate get knocked out. And at the hands of another teammate, it's it's almost like a lose-lose situation, right? I mean, one teammate got a big knockout win, but the other one got knocked out. So there's really no winning there.
Yeah, it is very unique. I'm actually surprised they didn't play it up more because it is something that you can sell. But they did it. They did it okay. It was interesting when Overeem walked into the cage. He went up to Arlovsky and his team, and they kind of no-sold him, I thought. I don't know. It felt a lot more personal for Arlovsky. So I wish there could be like some footage of that. I mean, maybe that's just the soap opera fan in me. Struve with the big win. There's options for him, but I actually want to ask you about Bigfoot Silva because I said afterwards that I don't really want to see Bigfoot Silva fight anymore. And then some people were like, hey, dummy, look at Arlovsky and Overeem in the cage. Those are guys who were knocked out, had bad losses. I don't know. For some reason, maybe it's his age. Maybe it's the kind of losses as of late. I don't want to see it anymore. And the health stuff that he's been through, I'm good. He's had a nice career. He beat Fedor, but I think, Pat Riley hair or not, I think I'm good with Bigfoot. How do you feel about that?
I really hate saying
I know, but this feels weird.
You should retire because this is not the NBA or the NFL or MLB where these guys are getting paid $25 million a year and they have money in the bank and they're good to go.
True.
These guys a lot of times are they're making money fight to fight, and fighting is their only source of income, their primary and their only source of income. So I hate to say, oh, this guy should retire because you gotta feed your family, man. So I'm not going to say that Bigfoot should retire, but the one thing that concerns me is I want to go back to when TRT was banned, and it was a pretty big deal at the time because I remember Bigfoot's manager, Alex Davis, said that Bigfoot might be the only guy who really, really actually needs TRT because he has a condition. He has a pituitary issue, and he needs some kind of, TUE. He needs a therapeutic use exemption for something, whether it be testosterone or something else. And maybe without that, he's just not. He really isn't himself. Maybe he really does need that from a health perspective, not a performance enhancing perspective, but just to make him normal. So maybe he shouldn't. I don't know. I mean, I'm not his doctor, but maybe he shouldn't get back in there.
I'm not campaigning for him to retire. I'm just saying I don't want to see it anymore. Personal preference.
Sure.
We all have our own, feelings on things. But yes, I get what you're saying. Who are we? I've said this before about the likes of Shogun Hua, who's fighting this weekend against Corey Anderson. But that's just my personal feeling. Now, I mentioned Gunnar Nelson at the top. Fantastic performance against a very tough guy in Albert Tumanov. He's back. Whatever you want to say, maybe he just had a really, really bad night or fought a much better fighter in Damian Maia. Anyone come to mind for that? Here's my idea, okay? I have a couple ideas I want to throw your way.
Yeah.
Nate, Connor, Gunnar, Nick on the same card. What do you think of that?
I like it. I like where you're going with that, but I don't know. I just feel like Gunnar is not a box office type guy.
Yeah.
And I think Nick needs a box office type guy.
Fair
now,
enough.
if you want to put those guys on the same card, yeah, I love the Diaz brothers. Putting them on the same card.
Yeah.
I think that would be great, but I'm not sure if Nick will fight Gunnar. I get the story, like it's a cool story, but I'm not so sure if Nick would be into that fight.
No, he probably won't be.
Gunnar's gonna want to take him down, and Nick wants to stand and bang and have an entertaining fight. So I don't know. I'm gonna say no on that one.
That's my dream, but yes, I agree. I'm guessing he's probably looking for a bigger fight. Some people mention Magny. I think he's a fight away from that. I was thinking more like maybe Safadine if he wins in a couple of weeks. Dong Young Kim, someone like that. What do you think? You like Magny?
I like Magny. I just like that style matchup. I think that's a really interesting style matchup. And actually, the guy that you just named, Dong Hyun Kim, is the guy that I said right off the bat that would be a very, very interesting fight because both guys are really good grapplers. Both guys have unorthodox stand up where Dong Hyun Kim has knocked guys out, and Gunnar has not good striker, not out, but he knocked down Brandon Thatch last year and then choked him out. I think that would be a cool matchup. I think you can do that in Europe. You can do that. I mean, there's a lot of versatility to that matchup as well.
I know a lot of fans. We mentioned Connor. They want me to address the Floyd Mayweather story. I said it was a pretty enjoyable weekend in MMA, except for Friday morning when this news came out, and it won't go away because of Connor, because of Floyd keeping this going. Floyd Sr. This is just, what can we say?
I got a call on Friday afternoon from my dad.
Oh my!
And I thought he was just calling to ask me how I was doing. I was out of the hospital days earlier.
Yes.
And he did. He was like, Mark, how's it going? How are you doing? I'm like, oh, everything's fine. He's like, okay, well, the real reason why I'm calling is McGregor really fighting Mayweather? Is that really going to happen? I'm like, Dad, I'm going to hang up with you right now. I didn't hang up on him.
Yes.
But I told him no. It's just not going to happen. There's just no way.
Every time something comes out about this story, I go back to talk to people and I say, I am ashamed that I'm asking you this, but is there any truth at all to this story? And they vehemently say no. For whatever reason, certain people publicly are, and it was interesting that Floyd said that he started the rumor. What are you talking about? You started a rumor? Okay, that's strange. He said that to Fight Hype. In short, Conor McGregor has a contract with the UFC. He can't just decide to go, and he's playing it up. And I love how people are going to me, look, you were wrong. Look at Conor's tweet. Lest we forget that in the last 2 weeks, Conor has retired. He said that he's back on 200. all of a sudden now they're saying you were wrong. It's not happening. Do you okay? Hypothetical, just to appease these dummies, and I'm sorry for calling you dummies, but really, come on, you're being dumb now. You're really it's actually getting annoying. But anyway. Does this break, if this happens, would it break the Mayweather-Pacquiao pay-per-view record?
That's a good question. I don't think it does, but I'm not sure. I can't say for sure because I don't think it does. If you ask me right now here before we get to the lead up to the fight, I don't think it does, but that's before McGregor gets a microphone in his hand and starts talking. So I think that could make a world of difference, obviously, but it certainly could. the fact that we're even having the conversation means that it would be just an immense fight. Why are we talking about this, though?
No. We're having the conversation because everyone was asking me this morning, will you address Sports Center put out a quote? I mean, it's like I can't ignore it. I've tried to ignore it. I didn't talk about it yesterday on Twitter. It bothers me. I hate it. It's almost, I mean, it's the second coming of the Ronda Mayweather. How does he do this? He keeps interjecting himself into a sport that he always says he doesn't care about. Like one time he talks about Ronda, then he talks about promoting MMA. Now it's Conor McGregor. Conor has a contract. He can't do this sort of thing. The UFC would never allow it. They would just never allow it. And that's it.
Look, let's be honest, though. I think you mentioned Rousey, McGregor, and Mayweather. All three of them get something from talking about the other. It's true. I mean, I think Rousey got something from talking about Mayweather. McGregor's getting something from talking about Mayweather, and vice versa. Mayweather gets popularity, but he gets press for talking about McGregor and Rousey. They get the rub, as they say, from talking about each other, and it helps. It raises all of their brands, and all of us are made to look stupid in the end, but it helps them.
See, this is what happens. This is what happens. You're seeing it with your own eyes. This is what happens when you talk about stupid fights in the midst of, as I said last week, one of the best stretches in recent UFC history. I mean, May alone is fantastic. Oh, is he back? May alone is fantastic. UFC 198 is an amazing card, literally from top to bottom. Every single fight on that card presents something interesting. And then you talk about Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor, and this is what happens. I don't know. We may have run out of time with Marc, but we are going to see him later, so we don't necessarily need to call him back, even though I like to say goodbye. It kind of weighs on my mind. We are at the time that we need to move on, so let us move on. This is what happens. The MMA gods got so mad at me for talking about Mayweather and McGregor, for listening to the mob, the masses, and this is what happens. I hope you're happy. Let us never speak of this fight again. This nonsensical fight. But really, UFC 198 is something else. The only other thing I was going to ask him, but he'll come back at around 3:25 Eastern, around 2 hours, and talk about 98 and other news in MMA. You could pick. You asked me right now, like, what's the best fight on 198? I don't really know what to pick. Are we going Maya Brown? Are we going Chris Cyborg's debut? Are we going Anderson Silva versus Uriah Hall? What are we picking? Are we going the heavyweight title fight? Are we going Jacare versus Belfort? The possibilities are endless with that card. We'll talk about it later on in the show. For now, let us move along. Thank you very much to Marc. We appreciate his time. We'll see him in 2 hours' time. Let's move along to our next guest. As I mentioned, last time we saw him in the cage was around a month ago. That was in Croatia. Obviously a disappointing night for him, but we do appreciate him coming on, especially with the heavyweights being so much in the news these days. We're being joined right now by Big Ben Rothwell. He is on the phone. Ben, how are you?
I'm okay, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I really appreciate you joining us. I said, and correct me if I'm wrong, is this your first interview since that fight against JDS?
I was actually going to say it. I was going to start giving you shit about it. Being like, it's my first interview, so you better be happy.
Oh, well, no, I said it at the top, but I wanted to make sure, sometimes I miss things. So like I said, it was a month ago, and it was kind of, you were on a roll, and it just didn't seem like yourself. Have you watched the fight again? Have you been able to pinpoint what went wrong against JDS?
I watched the fight, and it's good they do, because what you think happens in your head is a lot different. Honestly, I thought it was a lot worse than when I watched the fight. There's things in the fight that happen, and we'll talk about it. And then there's obviously things, it isn't. You're not the only one. People can watch and visually tell that I wasn't fighting at my potential. And the best way I can explain it for in and before the fight is simply a physical malfunction. Like, that's the best way to say it. Like, a malfunction took place, and really, I feel like I fought not just the best junior, but that's a junior. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, it's gonna look like the guy from the old." And that's who I showed up to fight. I said I was coming here to fight championship junior, because I do that to people. I bring out the best in them, and it just further proves my point. And we went 5 rounds, and this is the way I'm handling this. I watched the fight. I know what was going on. There's things that I can talk about, and there's things that I'm never going to say because I'm not making excuses. Hey, I went out there to win the fight, and that's it. You know what I mean? I was healthy enough to go in there and fight, and that's the end of it. So there's nothing there. Hats off to him for it being his night. But I'm certain that I fought one of the best juniors is, and he fought half of me, literally. And, let's just hit the facts. My grappling is probably one of my stronger assets right now, just from what I know. And I know the rest of the world doesn't think I have anything off my back, and I don't know anything. Junior is terrified of my ground game. He wanted nothing to do with it. He was open in interviews, said so, and in the fight he showed it. And just me not capitalizing and just not able to use my grappling, not able to use my takedowns. It was detrimental to me in that fight into getting the fight to go my way. And I stood there in front of him for 5 rounds, you know what I mean? And went to the end. And I remember watching the fight. I'm the one landing the last shots at the end of the 5th round. So to me, it's not good enough. It didn't knock him out. It didn't win the fight, but there's a lot there's a lot of positives for me. That's like, look, I'm throwing to the end of the 5th round. I'm in the 5th round. I think I added up. This is close and might be wrong, but I think only 8 heavyweights have ever fought 5 rounds in like the history. And I'm talking all the way back to Randy Couture, Tim Sylvia, Kane and Junior, Stipe. There's a couple more. So that in itself, I feel like is something. It shows that I'm there and I am championship worthy. And, I'll just look back at my friend Robbie Lawler. He made his resurgence. He got to that title fight. Mine wasn't a title fight, but I feel like it could have been. And he lost a 5-round decision only to come back and look what he's done now. I feel like I'm just a heavyweight version of him. I'm following behind. It's kind of like, I learned a lot in this 5-round fight, a lot. And I feel like Junior's Junior. And he, hey, like I said, hats off to him for that night, but we're going to fight again, and I will beat him next time. So there's no doubt in my mind.
When you describe it as a physical malfunction, is this something that you think happened in the cage? Were you feeling off all week? Did you foresee it? Like what more can you tell us about that?
I just don't want to say anything wrong or anything, but like, if I wanted to get pulled off the card, I could have medically, like no problem. But I'm just too stubborn, and I'm just I guess too tough for my own good, and nothing was going to stop me from fighting. It just sucks because I have to go back to why this fight sucks for me. Why is it losing's bad? No, it's that I didn't fulfill everything that I said I was going to do. I didn't back up everything that I said. I said I'm a man of my word, and I didn't follow through with it. So that hurts me more than anything. And it sucks because we went back 9 weeks, 8 weeks. Well, no, it's been a month extra. So we got to go back 12 weeks to you and I were on the phone, and you weren't excited about this fight. Yeah, man. You had all the reason not to be excited. I was on a 4-fight win streak, and I took on a guy with a loss. It was a stupid fight for me. So you were strategically.
Do you regret taking it?
Man. What?
Do you regret taking the fight?
I mean, there's regret and there's not. I think more not regret, but a learning lesson. I think like right after the fights, I need to be locked up and nobody and like somebody else needs to take my phone and I can just take my wallet because I get crazy after a fight. It's when I do the craziest interviews with you. It's when I'm off the wall and I think I get high off of the wins. I don't know what it is, but it's obviously I'm not thinking rationally at the time. And, it was good for the UFC because they got to fill a main event. And it was just strategically stupid fight because I didn't realize that basically Croatia is Brazil. They built an American top team in the middle of Zagreb, and there was no chance of me winning the crowd at all. Like, you know what I mean? Junior's name has been pumped there for the last I don't know how many months. They love Brazil now. They love American top team. You know what I mean? And they don't need to get, they only needed Crow Cop to get behind. That's it. They just needed one thing to get behind. The whole country will get behind it. Well, they pretty much did that with American Top Team, and that was great for Junior. He had like a hometown advantage almost. And it just like looking back on it, like not that I care. I've gone into hostile arenas and won many times. I don't care about that. It's just strategically it didn't make any sense for me. And yeah, so there's going to be a little bit of regret, but at the end of the day, I went to the 5th round and I learned basically there's no dollar amount can tell you the type of experience that I learned in those 5 rounds, especially the 4th and the 5th round. I learned the most about myself, and you know what I mean? Had I just physically been able to apply all of my game, I think Junior would have been in a lot of trouble. I think one takedown completely changes that fight.
Sorry, go ahead.
And just in the fight, he hit me with a shot that everybody's seen, says probably would have knocked out most people. Dude, I was knocked out on my feet, and he hit me with that push kick, which I think I take push kicks fine. I can catch them. I know how to defend against them. I was half knocked out on my feet, and then it just looks bad. You know what I mean? He push kicks me on the floor, and I think as bad as it looks worse for him, because if I was him, I finished that fight. I finished me. I finished whoever I am and that's in that situation. He let me get back up and get back in I fought 3 more rounds after that. So I just realized that I'm tougher than I even knew, and I can go through a lot. And there's times where people are like, why do I keep going forward? Because I'm never going to show you how hurt I am. Because the second I started stepping back, Junior, you could see it. He's ready to go crazy. He's ready to come in. And I was just proud of the fact that I was able to man up and keep putting up a front the entire fight. And it got myself into the point of the 4th and 5th round. I completely, my main state was like, you know, I needed to get in there and turn the fight around. And I said right to the end of the 5th round, I could have won that fight still. So that's it. Long-winded, just, you know, obviously frustrated, but you know, I might have took a loss on my record, but I'm far from defeated. In fact, I'm very much the opposite. I think that fight gave me the fuel and the knowledge that I needed to really take myself to being the best mixed martial artist that I can be. And that's my new goal, is no more about the title. I'm done chasing something that I have no control over. I'm back to why I started the sport. It's to find out how good I can really be. And with each and every fight from here on out, that's my focus, is what is in myself and the kind of mixed martial artist that I can be in and outside of the cage. So I've cracked a lot, and this fight gave me a lot of insight, and that's it. I'm going to move forward.
Well, very good to hear that you're taking that approach. You know, you hear that sometimes. I'm reminded of what Dominic Cruz said to me after he won the belt in January. I asked him if that was the happiest day of his life, and he said the happiest day of his life was when he realized he didn't need the belt to be happy. And you often hear from guys that good things start to happen in their title chase when they just stop focusing and harping on the belt. So I think that's a very positive outlook. I'm wondering if that came to you right after the fight, or you know, was the trip home a nightmare? Were you licking your wounds? How long did it take for you to come to this conclusion where you are right now?
I think it was kind of like an ongoing, like the thought was just kind of right. I mean, after at the hotel on the way home, just you're a lot of thoughts. You're just trying to figure things out. You know, what went wrong? What's happening? What am I going to do next? And that was one of the things that just kind of entered my mind. It's like, dude, stop chasing something you have no control over.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really, like deciding like if you're ever going to get to fight for it, you know, and stuff like that. Like, it doesn't even matter, and it's not going to define who I am. And, you know, the kind of mixed martial artist that's going to be with me the rest of my life. You know, you can be a champion and be a complete shit person. There was proof of it. We see them right now. So that doesn't mean anything. You know, you're a champion. It doesn't mean you're a good person. So I just need to really just refocus on why I even got into this, and focus on my gym that's changing people's lives, and focus on things that money can't buy. I think those are the most powerful things that you can deal with while you have time on this planet before you die. And because you can have all the money in the world, and guess what? You're not going to take it with you when you die. But all the good things or all the bad things you've done to people, that will live on forever. So that's what I learned as a mixed martial artist.
How does Ben Rothwell right now, considering what happened in that fight, considering what you did to Overeem a couple of years ago, how do you react to yesterday's fight and now the possibility of him being next in line for the title? How does that feel?
I don't feel anything. I'm numb to it because it's just the way it is. I mean, what am I going to do? Like, you know, he just got to the 4-fight win, streak. You know, if you look at it on paper, him and I are both 4-1 though. Mm-hmm. And his last loss is to me. So
Yeah.
I don't even care. I know that he's the most recent without a loss, so it's great. Like, so he's getting the door open for him. But I don't give a shit. There's nothing I can do about what other people are doing. And looking at the fight, I think Junior or I defeat Overeem or Orlovsky, no problem. You know,
Even though Overeem just beat Junior in December.
yeah, and Junior looked like a completely different guy, didn't he?
Yeah. What's your theory on that? Were you expecting that? I know you said you wanted
I
that.
don't want to talk about anything controversial. So
No. I wasn't getting that. I mean, he literally. I mean, the body shots. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, he just. I don't know. I don't know what happened. Did he start believing in himself more? Did he? I don't know. What do you?
In 8 weeks.
You think it's
8 weeks too? So it was pretty.
So what do you think?
Quick turnaround.
So you think? So I mean, I got to ask now. In this era, this USADA era, you think something funny was up?
No comment.
Fair enough. All right. Well, that's interesting because you'd like to think that in this era that stuff, but I'm not that naive.
I'll tell you this.
Okay.
I'll tell you this. I'm not saying anything about my. I'm talking. This is to every weight class, and this is the men's and women's divisions. There's guys still 100% cheating with USADA going on.
Sure. I mean, I know there's always ways. Yeah.
Let's just make it
Fair
clear.
enough.
Like, so you know it, I know it, and that's why people keep getting busted because people are still cheating.
Okay.
That's it. And so that's it. There's nothing, there's nothing I can do about that except for I need to improve myself so that I can defeat that no matter what. Like, you know what I mean? If I don't want to fight with cheaters, then I just need to quit the sport right now.
Did you think of that?
Come in here and be like, I'm going to beat cheaters. That's me. That's the way I've handled this last few years, and I'm just going to stick to that, and that's it.
But Ben, if you think that people are cheating and you're getting in there in the cage with them, how do you do that with a clear conscience? Like, how do you know that you're getting into a fist fight in a cage with someone or people? Like, there's a chance that they're still cheating in this day and age, especially with all the testing going on. I mean, do you feel comfortable with that? After that fight, did you even consider not fighting anymore?
I feel comfortable with it. I mean, you're in your voice right now. You're getting angry just thinking about being in someone's
So
shoes.
why do you do it? Why do you continue?
Man, and there's nothing you can. Like I said, if you don't want to deal with it, then retire or don't fight no more. I train in such a way that I know that I'm going to beat you anyway.
Okay.
Because I'm that badass. I know that I can be. And it sucks because if the person wasn't, they go down quicker from some of the shots they were taking. They don't last as long. Dude, people cheat because it does work. It does help them, mentally and physically. Gives them more confidence, gives them, lets them recover from the shitty training that they're doing. Like, yeah, it sucks. And obviously it's a problem. That's why USADA was even created. But that's it, man. It's never, I don't think cheating, there's too much money involved. And I think cheating's always going to be there.
Have we started to think about what's next yet? Any talks, any plans in your mind? What are you feeling?
I mean, every time I call out anybody, I don't seem to get it until after the fact. But I mean, obviously the losers, I would love to fight a winner of the next 3 fights. So this one was a major one.
Yep.
We got Stipe and Verdum, and we got Velasquez and Brown. That's the 3 fights that I've really been paying attention to because I feel like my next opponent would be taking on one of those 6 guys.
Yes.
Most likely one of the losers of those 6 guys. I'm more pushing for the loser of the Stipe Verdum or obviously Orlovsky now. I'll happily rematch Overeem, but I don't think he's too interested in that right now. So, yeah, I mean, obviously I'm going to be seeing what Orlovsky wants to do, and if the UFC wants that, or obviously the loser of Stipe and Verdum would be an excellent fight as well. So one of those is what I'd really like to push for, because Brown and Velasquez are all the way not till July, and then who knows, you know what I mean? So there's things in there.
I know it's kind of, I mean, you guys have changed so much since the fight happened, and the surroundings and the stage in which you fought had a big part in why the fight turned out to be not one of the best. But how about a Marc Hunt rematch on a normal, in normal elevation and all that? Do you think about that? Does that interest you?
I mean, I don't really think about it just because I'm, like I said, one of those 2 guys I was trying. I mean, Marc's always dangerous. I mean, he's always I look at him as an inspiration because how old he is, and he's still in there hacking it out, and that's an inspiration to me. It's funny because a lot of the guys are still older than me. There's only a couple that are younger than me, so it's like these guys are definitely my inspiration and my motivation. So with that being said, Marc's still putting some good wins together. He's in the mix. I just feel like there were some other fights that made more sense for guys than that. And I feel like I'm right in this spot where I don't know. Like, I feel like I was on I'm 4-1. I feel like, yeah, and I took the crappy fight. I feel like I deserve an Orlovsky or a Stipe Verdum. You know what I mean? But what you think and what actually happens doesn't mean anything. So we'll see what happens. But
will you watch?
I figured I haven't got. This is another reason. That would be my first rematch of one of my losses.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm starting to get a couple more of them now. It used to only be a couple guys, and now there's in the top 10. Now there's 4 guys here that potentially could be a rematch. I definitely want some redemption, but I definitely want to attack the higher ranked guys because I feel like it means more.
Fair enough. Will you watch the 198 main event this weekend? And if so, curious because it's your division. Who's your pick?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I like personally, I have a more relationship with Stipe.
Yeah.
So I'm unconsciously kind of rooting for him. You know what I mean? Like both guys are in my. You know what I mean? Like they're in the mix and guys I probably have to fight. But I like Verdum. I mean, he's always been a really nice guy too. But Stipe is a Midwest guy, and I feel like Stipe's really got a lot going against him. I know he's fought in Brazil before, but I think this is going to be a whole other animal. He's not fighting Magladano. He's fighting the champion, and he's fighting champion in his home turf. And I don't even think Brazil cared about Magladano like when Stipe fought him. No disrespect to him, but it's not the same as when you fight one of the heroes. And Verdum's going to have that crowd the whole week of the fight. Right now, Stipe is going to be dealing with things the week of the fight. Like people mess with you. They do. When you're fighting someone's turf, you got to be careful where you go buy your coffee, where you go buy your food. Like at all times, you got to keep you're looking over your shoulder. That's just how it is. And in Brazil, it's going to be present to the highest extent in my experience. So Stipe really has a huge hill to climb. I mean, he does. And on the feet, I think is where Stipe feels he's going to win. I think he sees some of the weaknesses that I see, and he feels like he can catch that chin, and he can, and that's how he's going to win the fight. But if he starts using his Marc Hunt game plan, where he's going to start pulling Verdum down, obviously that's going to be tough for him because I haven't seen much of Stipe's submission defense, and I haven't really seen him apply many submissions of his own. And Verdum is very crafty, and he can even turn submissions on the feet. You know what I mean? So he's got those, and I'm not sure if Stipe, how prepared he is for those. That could be the changing factor if Stipe doesn't start lighting him up on the feet. That and just how he looks in the first couple minutes, is really going to let me know how the whole week of the fight has treated him. Yeah. Stipe comes out there and looks not right, kind of slow. All right, something happened. And it'll be a bummer.
Well, the odds certainly stacked against him on this one. 45,000 people they are expecting, but it's going to be interesting. Ben, I appreciate you stopping by. I appreciate you coming to us for your first interview after the fight, and I'm looking forward to what's next. I think we've learned in this sport, one loss, the grand scheme of things, doesn't always affect you. Get one win back under your belt, and all of a sudden people are talking title shot again. So hopefully for your sake, just a little speed bump and that you do get that elusive title shot. But I do think that you have the right mindset now. So kudos on that, and appreciate the time. Thank you very much for coming on.
Hey, I just want you know that I do miss seeing you on TV.
Thank you.
On stuff. So I thought you were doing a great job. And like I said, I don't know anything. I'm completely ignorant to the situation, but whatever it is, whatever. I still love you doing your thing and happy to be on your show and support you. So thank you.
You are the man, Ben. Thank you very much. That means a lot to me. Thank you.
Right on, brother. You have a good one.
I appreciate it. There he is, Ben Rothwell. Always great to talk to him. Appreciate his time and his candor as well. Okay, let's move along. A big weekend for Dutch MMA. Our next guest has ties to that region, but was not on the card. He was there in attendance. Always love talking to Gegard Mousasi, especially this iteration of Gegard Mousasi. He joins us right now on the phone. Gegard, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Ariel.
Appreciate you coming on. I know you just got home, so I really appreciate you coming on because you're probably really tired and you don't want to talk to anyone anymore. So this is very much appreciated on this side of the table. What can you tell us? You were there, right? You were sitting in attendance. You were in the Ahoy Rotterdam, right? What was it like?
Yeah, it was good sphere. People were cheering, so pretty loud. So I think it was a success, and I hope next year they will come back. This time Amsterdam, and I hope I will be on the card.
Did a part of you? I know you're fighting UFC 200, but while you were there, did you sort of wish that you can experience what Darandami and Overeem and Struve felt in there, because they obviously would have cheered for you like their own. Did you kind of wish that you were on the card as well last night?
Yeah, definitely, because I saw the joy that and the crowd reaction once they won. I would have loved to also compete in my own country. So, but it was a great night. All the Dutch guys and women won, so, and all by knockout. So I think it was a great night for MMA for Holland.
Dana White said that it broke the gate record for that arena that was once held by Frank Sinatra. So by all accounts, it was a big success. And it's always interesting when the UFC goes to a market for the first time and seeing what happens afterwards. Like, does this now start this revolution of MMA in the country? I know it's a kickboxing country, but do more people get into it? Did you get that sense? Did you get that sense that this event will be talked about, especially because the Dutch fighters did so well, that they'll be talking about this for years to come, that this will now produce some young fighters who were watching last night and now want to emulate you guys?
Yeah, definitely. I think also because of the results of the fight, they were all exciting fights. And of course, you always need a couple Dutch fighters to go to a country. Let's say you need some Dutch fighters if you want to have a show in Holland. Mm-hmm. So now we have Alistair, we have Siad, we have Jermaine, we have Stefan. I'm fighting, and also on there's a Holland Fox now, so they're airing the UFC on there, and we have Spike here. They're showing Bellator, so MMA is getting more known. So. Wow. People more watch it, and once they learn it, it's easier to understand, and they also appreciate the ground game.
Do you have any idea why they went to Rotterdam as opposed to Amsterdam first?
Well, Amsterdam, they're not allowed to have shows.
Okay.
Like also kickboxing fights, because the mayor doesn't give allow a kickboxing show, because they say it's the criminals come there, and it doesn't have a good name. So
wow.
In Amsterdam, like big shows are not allowed. Only one time last time was Glory on Amsterdam, but
yes,
they had good connections, I believe. But I think we showed in Rotterdam that was a great event, great success, and hopefully they support it for next year in maybe in Amsterdam.
So the mayor of Amsterdam has just sort of banned that stuff, and he's the one that could lift the ban and allow shows to come?
Yeah, definitely. Because there was some incident, there was some shooting on one show. Generally, fighting doesn't have a good name in Holland.
Okay.
So it's linked with criminals and stuff like that, so it doesn't have a good reputation. But of course, UFC is something else. It's so professional, and it's not like that. Like so, I think that they can change the way people see fighting.
That's unbelievable, considering what's legal in Amsterdam. The fact that you can't have a big MMA show, that's pretty amazing. Wow. So do you think that they'll be able to change it? Like, are people asking you to help campaign or talk to the mayor? How do you reverse this so that you can fight there next year, Overeem can fight for the belt, etc.?
Well, I think like UFC did in Rotterdam. I think Glory did last time a show in Amsterdam.
Okay.
The mayor himself was there, so it showed that it's possible. So, but I think it's a reputation that needs to be overcome, and I think UFC showed that with Rotterdam, and hopefully they will allow, if UFC is coming back, hopefully they allow it.
Wow, fascinating. One of the highlights of the week for me was this video that they put out of you telling jokes. I mean, this was unbelievable stuff. Were those your jokes, or did someone write them for you? And your delivery made it really special. I mean, you killed that video. Maybe one of the highlights of your MMA career, dare I say.
I don't know. I have to do them over and over and over.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the jokes was written. I don't know. I just had to read them.
They were unbelievable. Did you understand the jokes?
Yeah, some of them I got, but some of them they had to explain. But like the red paint, blue paint, I don't know. But
Fantastic.
Get that.
Did you enjoy doing that?
Yeah, it was fun to do. But obviously, when I look back on I don't think it's funny. Hopefully, other people think it's funny because I don't know. I see myself.
Oh, I love it. I love the fact that you're finally getting that attention. This is you. You should play it up. People love you. Don't forget it.
Well, I don't know if they love me, but I will get there eventually. Not with love. I mean, I want the belt. I mean.
Well, first comes love, then comes the belt, then comes the babies.
Well, I think it's more popularity contest in
That's
some
true.
fights, but let's say, yeah, I have a big record, but people don't see it. Let's say, like a guy like Yoel Romero, he deserves a title shot, but I think he's not popular.
Sure.
He doesn't speak English, so it's not some that people want to see as a champion because it's not good for the pay-per-view. Plus, yeah, it's a company. So you have stuff like that.
Sure. That's always going to be a big part of mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so I have to ask you, enough beating around the bush. When the news about Lyoto Machida came out, everyone, your Twitter, did it explode that day? Because I went on your Twitter and people were writing to you. It must have just been insanity, right? I mean, because you kind of called that something funny was going on, and he hasn't really talked about it. But just that day, those couple days, what was it like for you when this news came out?
Well, first I got angry, but then I don't know. I don't see him as a bad guy, but I see what I think. I say what I think. I felt it. I felt he was slippery. I think sometimes I say things when it's the truth, still people are going to complain. It's like, if you don't like the truth, what, you want me to tell something you like just because you want to hear it? You want me to say, oh, Machida, yeah, he beat me. He's such a fair fighter. I don't know what people want to hear. They don't like to hear the truth. They're so stupid. I don't know. It's ridiculous. Of course, like the USADA testing is coming. People are not going to use the typical, I don't know, the steroids or whatever.
Right.
They're going to use for, replacement.
Sure.
And, I'm not a rocket scientist, but I knew that was a banned substance, so he should have known either also. And that supplement doesn't do nothing for you, probably. It's not, I don't know. It's for, what I've read is for old people or something. So, I don't know. I think justice been served.
So, but were you feeling like, okay, because when you said it in February, when you came out and talked about him, I'm imagining that you got a lot of hate from his fans. But then this comes out the week of the fight. Did you feel like you
still got hate?
You still got hate?
I'm still getting hate from them.
What?
This little dragons on the computer. So I don't know what to say to this. They're morons. Probably because they don't like the truth. It's a fact. He's being caught, and it's a bad supplement. It's a fact. It's a fact that he cheated. It's simple as that. It's like if I go through a red light and the officer gives me a ticket, that's a fact. I don't know how to explain to these dummies. It's ridiculous.
I thought now you would get love that people were like saying, okay, you were right. We admit it. You've been validated.
No, it's never like that. It's the internet.
The internet is a crazy place. I could attest to that. Do you still get it now? Like a month later?
But I don't read anymore. So
You're done?
I don't know if I'm not reading it.
It's too much aggravation.
Not good for me.
You get too fired up, right?
Well, not if they're gonna say stuff when I'm emotional, let's say after a fight that I lost.
Oh yeah.
Of course I'm gonna be emotional. But now, who cares? Who cares? They're probably eating potatoes, playing video games, and I have to listen to those guys.
Who told you the news, and how did you What was your initial reaction?
Well, I think I got a message on on WhatsApp. And first, people are gonna say bad loser, bad loser. No, it's not bad loser. If you think someone cheated, if someone steal your money, and I'm gonna say, well, he steal it in the right way, you shouldn't be sorry about it. People say stuff like that. Oh, you beat him fair and square. Well, I took him down in the second round. He was so slippery, he got up. I had his back. He just put his ass up. I flew down his like a chimney. I went down on his back. Of course, those could have been positions that I could have done damage. I could have do something. People are stupid because they're not in that situation. They're like, oh, he's a bad loser. Well, if somebody steals from you, you're going to be also feeling bad.
Sure.
So I don't know why I'm even talking about defending myself to people who are actually so stupid. And it's ridiculous. I don't know.
I love this, Gegard. I love you. Don't change.
The truth hurts.
I know.
It hurts to some people. I don't know.
That is true. Okay, so let's move along because the last time I had you on the show, you didn't have your next fight yet. You were looking for something big. You got Derek Brunson on a very big card, UFC 200. We still don't know exactly where this fight is taking place on the card. Perhaps you can shed some light on that, but we do know it's taking place July 9th in Las Vegas, UFC 200. Are you happy with the matchup? Does this make you happy, or are you content with what they gave you?
Well, for me, it doesn't make difference because I need to get 3-4 fights in a row wins.
Yeah.
If they're gonna consider me a title contender. So let's say if I would have fight Anderson Silva, if I would have fight Anderson Silva or I fighting Derek Brunson, they wouldn't give me a title fight after that. You know what I mean? So I need wins, and for me it doesn't matter who I fight as long as they keep giving me fights.
But was he even on your radar, Derek Brunson? I mean, you both coming from Strikeforce. Is this someone that you thought about?
To be honest, I didn't know him, but I knew he was doing. I haven't seen the fight with Joe Romero, but I heard he was winning.
Yeah.
At least that's what I heard.
Yeah.
So if he's winning on 2 rounds, then that's a guy that's definitely dangerous, and he's winning the last 3 fights, so he has knockout power. But nothing I haven't seen, and everyone is good nowadays.
Sure.
So I'm taking him seriously, but nothing that I don't think I can handle.
When you look at the fight on paper, he's got solid wrestling as well. Matchup wise, is that what you're most concerned about from him?
But I haven't seen doing many. I don't know. I'm not impressed about it with his wrestling.
Okay.
He's a southpaw.
Yeah.
It's going to be very difficult for him to shoot, and if he wants to bang, that's good for me.
Yes, of course. I had heard initially that this fight was going to be on the Fight Pass portion of the card. Is that the case from what you understand?
Well, I don't care. I'm getting. I heard it's the prelims or whatever. I'm getting paid the same.
Sure.
Ooh, who cares?
Especially now with no.
But yeah, of course. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, these days when you have the Reebok deal, it doesn't really matter where you're fighting because you get paid the exact same, right?
Yes, I never fought on the premium, so I don't know. Does it make difference?
No, it doesn't. It makes no difference. In fact, sometimes the prelims are seen by more people than the actual pay-per-view main card.
Okay, maybe it's a good thing.
Yes, but what about just being on UFC 200? Is that something that you wanted? A lot of fighters were campaigning for this. You were one of the first fights officially added to the card. Was this a big deal? Like, did you feel like, oh wow, this is a nice nod to me from the bosses, from the organization? They're putting me on UFC 200.
Yeah, well, of course I'm appreciated that they give me a fight because I was asking for a fight as soon as possible, and they delivered, of course. So
yeah.
I can't complain. For me, I fought so many times, so many countries. A fight is a fight. I'm not getting. I'm not a guy that gets excited about. Oh, UFC 200, like it's my birthday or something. I have to be excited about it. It's just a fight. Let's say if they pay me $10 million, then I get excited. That's something else.
Sure.
But yeah, it's just of course 200. I hear a lot of people are excited about that. So And I think if I put a good performance, more people will notice that. So obviously it's huge to be on the card, but for me it's just normal. It just doesn't matter.
By the way, I think you in total have 46 pro MMA fights. Does that sound right?
45, 46, yeah, could be possible. Yes.
Is it possible that this is the first time in your 45, 46 fight career that you're fighting in the quote-unquote fight capital of the world, Las Vegas? I think it is. Am I wrong?
No, it's the first time in Vegas.
Wow.
And yeah, I hope one time in Madison Square Garden.
Yes.
Because I used to watch boxing fights there, so I think that would be nice to fight in Vegas and in Madison Square Garden. That's New York, right? Madison.
Of course, yes. That's just actually 8 blocks from this studio where I am right now. But that's amazing to me. Las Vegas, is that something that you wanted for a long time?
Yeah, I hear I don't have to pay a lot of tax. So it's always good to save some money.
That's all you care about. It doesn't matter where, as long as you don't have to pay the taxes, right?
Yeah, you have to pay the taxes, but less is always better than a lot.
But just fighting in Vegas, the fight capital, Sin City, all that stuff, does that not make you a little more excited, or no, not at all?
I love to fight in Vegas. You know, I think people always come there to watch the fights. I think I never fought there, but you know,
special.
Watching from old days, always the fight, big boxing fights were always in Vegas. So that's why I say I also would like to fight one day in New York.
Yes.
Then what I've seen on TV when I was young, and now I'm fighting there. That would mean something to me, of course.
Of course. Okay, let's end on this. This weekend, Uriah Hall versus Anderson Silva. Who's Gegard's pick? What do you think?
Well, you know, I think Anderson Silva gonna win, and yeah.
Do you think he just completely smokes him, or do you think it's a close fight? What do you think?
Well, Anderson Silva is a little bit older now, so I don't know if he's gonna smoke him, but he's gonna definitely win. You never know, of course, but I think Anderson has a really good chance of winning.
Yeah. Will you watch it, or does it annoy you that he's getting the fight?
No. Uriah is a good guy. I don't know. He won. He won fair and square. I don't dislike him. I wish him the best.
No, I'm not saying that you dislike him, but just the fact that, you know, he's getting this fight and this is something that you've wanted.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you mean I wanted the Anderson fight? Well, you know, after this fight, I could get someone like the winner, or if it's Uriah Hall, a rematch, that would be great. If Anderson will fight against him, but of course I have to win my fight.
Of course.
And I don't know if Michael Bixby has a fight, but that could be a come along, you know?
Yes, he doesn't have a fight yet.
Yeah, I think he's waiting for a title shot, but of course you have Romero coming back, you have Jacare, so that's a long time to wait.
Yeah. Who do you think wins that fight, Vitor or Jacare?
Well, I have to give it to Jacare.
Yeah, he's just younger.
Well, yeah, I don't know why Vitor Belfort is ranked so high, to be honest.
He's ranked above you, right?
Well, he's ranked number 5, but I'm pretty sure if we would fight, I would be the favorite in that fight.
Don't pay attention to those rankings. They're all out of whack. Really?
Yeah, but, you know, the fight against Chris Weidman, he couldn't get out of a mount position. And that wasn't a lucky shot or anything. That was just him being not powerful enough, or he was just, I don't know. His physical was not there, you know?
That's another fight that we've been wanting. I remember back in Affliction, the first time I ever interviewed you, you were asking for the Vitor fight. Remember that? Almost a decade ago.
Well, yeah, Vitor Belfort fight, we had to fight at the catch weight. He didn't accept that fight. And then he went on to UFC, and he took the same catch weight he fought Franklin.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Crazy.
I'm not saying he's scared. He's not scared because he's fighting the best guys out there. Not at all, you know?
Right.
I think he's just looking out for himself and taking the best fights that's good for him, that's going to give him a title shot. So I can't blame him. I got nothing against him or something.
Well, Gegard, I got to say, one of the stories of the year is the emergence of your personality, just telling it like it is. Screw the haters, screw the people online, just say what's on your mind, and people like myself appreciate it. So don't worry about anything. You're killing it, my man. And I'm happy that you're a part of UFC 200. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Really, I enjoy it immensely. So thank you very much for coming on, especially after the trip. And I will see you in Las Vegas in a couple of months.
Thank you, my friend. Talk to you soon.
All right, there he is. Gegard Mousasi joining us from Holland. Great to talk to him. Just doesn't give an F. It's amazing. He's come a long way. Sometimes it takes a little longer to have these guys show off their personality, to get comfortable in front of the media, and that is certainly the case with one Gegard Mousasi. Tremendous stuff out of him. Again, he fights Derek Brunson in a very interesting fight at UFC 200, July 9th. In Las Vegas. Okay, like I said, it's a big weekend for MMA. Saturday in particular, one of those rare nights when Bellator and the UFC are going head-to-head. But this is interesting because originally it was Bellator... Is it 154? I think it is 154. Let me just make sure here. It's hard to keep track of those Bellators. Bellator 154... Yes, it is. Originally, it was going up against the Fight Night, but then the UFC changed it to 198. That's a massive card. The Bellator card was hit a little bit after Josh Thompson got injured, and now Michael Chandler is opponentless. They did add Sergey Kharitonov, so it's a big card for them in San Jose. And the legend, Randy Couture, is doing some work for Bellator. It has been a while since we talked to the Natural. I think it's been like 2 years since we've had Randy Couture on the show. So what an honor this is, a privilege to welcome Randy Couture to the MMA Hour right now. Randy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? It has been a while, hasn't it?
Yes. Where have you been? Have you been avoiding me?
Where haven't I been?
That is true.
Probably easier to count places I haven't been. It's been an amazing year, but yeah, I'm doing well and happy to be up in San Jose coming up this week for the fights there. King Mo and Bill Davis getting after it. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah. So if someone asks you, Randy, like, what's your relationship with Bellator? What's your involvement with that company? Like, what exactly are you to Bellator right now?
I have no official position with Bellator. I never have. Contrary to Dana's rhetoric when I signed a deal with Spike a few years back, I never had a deal with Bellator. I never have. I am like Royce Gracie and so many other guys, Kazuki Sakuraba. Bellator has hired me on a per event basis to help them as a brand ambassador, to make appearances, to go to the fan fest, to do that sort of thing. And that's what I'm doing in this capacity this coming weekend up in San Jose for the big show there on the 14th.
Though for this card, and correct me if I'm wrong, your involvement goes a little deeper, right? You're involved with something really cool, and I want you to explain it to the people. You're not just an ambassador for this particular card. You're actually sort of getting your hands dirty, right?
Well, for this particular card, it's a special card. Bellator and Spike TV have gotten together and basically created an organization called VOW, Veterans Operation Wellness. They did this last year in Houston. They created some spaces on their undercard for some active duty military and veterans to actually fight. Ones who train in MMA, they put them on the undercard and allow them to fight, and then give them not only give them a paycheck, but and an opportunity to fight on a nationally recognized card. But then they give them a bonus check on top of that as part of the VOW. Veterans Operation Wellness. So obviously with my foundation, Extreme Couture GI Foundation, and anything to do with veterans that supports them, I think that's another reason why they brought me in for this show. It's one of their VOW cards.
That is a very noble thing for you to do, a great cause. Are you going to be cornering any of these fighters on Saturday?
I won't be cornering any of the guys on Saturday. They have their teams and the guys that they're comfortable with and that they train with. I'm just there to kind of help promote this VOW program. And this year, the VOW card is sponsored by the Red, White, and Blue organization. They're a small veterans organization that has chapters across the country that basically get veterans out and do workouts together in the park or wherever They create workouts for our vets. Last year's Val card supported the boot campaign. So the Bellator and Spike's Val program is highlighting some of the smaller veterans organizations and what they do for our veterans. And in that, they create an opportunity for some of our veterans to fight. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is great. I love that they do that. It's on the prelims, as you mentioned. Jorge Acosta, Staff Sergeant, California Army National Guard, and Army veteran J.D. Hardwick. They'll be fighting on the undercard of Bellator 154 this Saturday in San Jose. We just saw some footage of you training with the guys. And you know, Scott Coker, Bellator CEO, we'll actually be talking to him in a few minutes. He's a crafty fellow, and he's been doing some interesting things with Bellator. Be honest with me here. When's the last time Coker offered you a fight? I know it has had to happen in his 2 years there. When's the last time he said, come fight for me?
Well, I think, you know, obviously when Fedor threw his hat back in the ring, and showed up at Rising on New Year's, my phone started ringing.
Yes.
And it was certainly a conversation that I had with Scott. Scott and I were actually doing promotions for their card in Connecticut at the Mohegan Sun when that all blew up. So every single interview that I did with Scott sitting next to me, they were asking me about whether I was going to come out of retirement and fight Fedor. And so he's kind of been there, you know, firsthand, seen my response to all of that, and kind of knows my position on it and where I'm at. So, you know, and Scott's one of those guys. He's a great guy, long time, you know, lifetime martial artist, and one of those guys that I trust for sure in this sport. So, I think he knows where I'm coming from, and that I'm not really interested in coming back out of retirement and fighting again at 52, almost 53 years old. Doesn't matter what kind of shape you're in. I haven't really been in fight shape for more, 5 years. So it just doesn't seem very realistic to me. It's not about money. It's not about that fight I missed or any of that stuff. I'm pretty comfortable with the legacy I set and having a great time acting now. And so I think we'll leave it at that. So
you can officially say, keep the offers away. I want nothing to do with this. I'm officially done. I will never fight again. Can you say that?
That's the way I feel about it right now, and I don't expect that's going to change.
Okay. Even when you see, Ken and Hoyce, there's nothing in you that says, I could do better than those guys? Those are the kind of fights that I think people want to see. They love those marquee names, those old matchups. There's a nostalgia there from the old days, and the fact that those guys are still willing to walk up in there and get in the cage is a tribute to them. So good on them, but I'm happy to be on the sidelines cheering and watching. How closely do you still work with the Extreme Couture gym in Las Vegas?
I'm at the gym every single day that I'm in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And obviously I'm in regular communication with Eric Nixick, my manager, and Robert and Dennis Davis, who run the amateur and pro team practices. And, Ryan has obviously stepped up and gotten a lot more involved at the gym and teaching classes and more involved in crunching the numbers and doing all that stuff. And I help Ryan directly with his camps, and once in a while go in and get on the mat with the guys that got that rub elbows with, obviously Misha, and we're very proud of Misha and what she's accomplished this year. And, Brian's got a big fight coming up real soon. We got a great group of people in there. So I'm happy to both be free to go do a movie when they come up and rely on those folks to continue to run the programs as well as they do. But at the same time, in there as often as I can be.
That's actually what I was getting at. It did seem, and correct me if you feel otherwise, for a minute, the gym had sort of lost its way. You were no longer fighting. Some other guys were leaving. And this year, I think in particular, Robert Follis has done a fantastic job, and Misha Tate becoming champion. All of a sudden, it feels like we've seen this resurrection of Extreme Couture out of Las Vegas. Did you see this coming? Did you think at one time the gym may have ran its course, and are you surprised by what's happened, especially in the last year or so?
Well, I never felt like the gym ran its course. I think there's a natural ebb and flow to any gym and certainly a fighting population in the gym. Guys feel like they've run their course. They need to go change the scenery. We had Gray Maynard go away and train with Luke Rockholt and run his own gym for a while in Santa Barbara. Now he's back training with us. I retired, so that it wasn't me in there grinding out another camp, which attracted a lot of people. I think bringing Dennis Davis in and getting Dennis on board and putting him over, I think, with the pros and giving him the recognition and credibility he deserves. And now Robert Fall is coming on board, who is, Dennis's mentor and somebody I've worked with and trained with for years since the old Team Quest days. All have contributed, attracting people like Miesha Tate and Brian Caraway and so many others that are in there grinding it out, banging it out, and getting ready for their fights at Extreme Couture. So I've always felt like it was a natural ebb and flow of a business, of a gym, especially with fighters. We're never concerned that the gym had run its course.
In the heyday, a few years ago, you were doing your thing, and right beside you was Gina Carano. We talk about Miesha Tate, and we see Cyborg fighting this weekend. So I'm reminded of Gina, who, she sort of disappeared from MMA after the loss to Cyborg. Are you still in contact with her? And can you tell us the last time Scott offered her a fight? Because I'm surprised she hasn't fought for Bellator yet, to be honest.
Well, I know there was a lot of talk about Gina coming back, about Gina maybe fighting Ronda, about signing, and I'm sure that there's some truth that she was in discussions with Dana and the guys in Zuffa. I know that she did talk with Scott sometime last year or the year before that. I think Gina is very happily working on movies on a very regular basis and doing a fantastic job there. And I think, like me, realistically, after being out of it and in top fight shape for so long, does it make sense to try and come back and fight again unless you feel like you have something to accomplish? Gina's really the only one that can answer those questions. I think she could do whatever she wanted. She was as talented and as good a mixed martial artist as anybody I've worked with. So it's really kind of up to her. But I suspect that she's happy making movies and doing a great job there.
Your name came up a couple of weeks ago on this show when all the Conor McGregor stuff, him retiring, and now with this Mayweather thing blowing up and him going. And I'm reminded of your situation to a degree with Fedor, but that was real. I don't get the sense that this is real. Still, when you saw all this play out with Conor and the UFC and him not wanting to do the media stuff and them removing him from the card, did you have flashbacks at all? Do you see any similarities between your situation and his? Are you surprised by any of this?
Well, I certainly wasn't surprised to see that one of their stars, Conor McGregor, was butting heads with Dana White. That didn't surprise me in the least. But, I feel like there was more to it than that. I think it was a little deeper than he just didn't want to do media. I think, he was holding out and trying to squeeze them for more money, and they really didn't want to play the game. But that was just my take on it. It's really hard to say. I don't have a working relationship with Conor. He's been into the gym once, and I wasn't in town that day. I didn't really get to meet him or shake his hand or get a sense of him. All I've seen is the interviews, like everybody else, and then the fights. And been certainly impressed with the dynamic fighting style he has, and maybe a little less impressed with the interviews and some of the other stuff that's gone on. But he is really their number one biggest star and biggest draw right now. The only guy that seems to be able to keep out of his own way for the most part and do the job. And so I'm kind of surprised that they didn't let him have whatever he wanted and keep him on 200. That card is going to be a huge card, but at the same time, they don't like to give up things like that and set a precedence that they're going to have to deal with other fighters. And I mean, that in a sense, is a lot like some of the things I fought with him over.
He sometimes drops hints about McGregor promotions, and people have talked about this. As you know, MMA is structured a lot more like pro wrestling than boxing, where someone could just start his own promotion like that. Do you foresee that time ever coming? Do you think a guy like Conor and a couple others can just start their own promotion and do their own thing like Mayweather does, or do you think it'll always be structured MMA like Bellator, UFC, World Series, like that? You know what I mean?
Well, it's certainly within the realm of possibility. I think right now, even if the rumors and the numbers that Conor is making, $4 or $5 million a fight, that's still nothing compared to the 30, 40 plus million that a guy like Mayweather is making in one boxing match. And it's going to take having pockets that deep to start your own promotion, to do your own thing that way. I think that allowed Golden Boy to be what they are, and they, attached a bunch of top guys to Golden Boy that made them successful. It's certainly within the realm of possibility, but I think we're a long ways away from making boxing money and being able to start our own promotions, our own production companies. So it's a stretch at this point.
Do you get a lot of guys come up to you in the gym and ask you when's the right time to walk away? Do you feel like that's a big problem? Like there's no retirement plan. There's no one, you could get pushed out, you can get cut, but you see this now as the sport continues to evolve. A lot of guys just don't know when to say when. I thought I know you walked away at one point, but you came back. But after the Machida fight, you seemed to know that enough was enough. Do you get those questions a lot from guys?
Well, people ask me that question a lot, and it's such a personal thing. Yeah, when I stepped out the first time, I was going through a horrible divorce and just didn't feel like myself. I didn't feel like I was getting the job done. I wasn't getting it done in practice, and I wasn't competing and feeling the way I normally felt. And obviously, when the dust settled from all that, I felt like I had more to give and more to do, and ended up fighting Kim coming out of retirement. But when I finally made the decision and my body was talking to me and saying, yeah, you might want to think about doing something else, it took me a while to come to the rational thought that it might be time to make it my last fight. I started kind of having some of those feelings getting ready for James Toney. And I thought, I don't want to go out on this fight as much as I want to go out and have a good showing against a world-class boxer. It didn't feel like a real MMA fight, and I wanted to go out with a real opponent, with a real shot, win, lose, or draw. And Lyoto Machida came up right after that. So I decided to make that my last fight. I didn't really tell anybody about it because I knew it would grow legs. It would become all about that instead of what it needed to be, which was about the fight. And, I decided win, lose, or draw, that was going to be my last one. I wanted to focus on all these other things that I had going on, like acting in the gym, and walked away. And once I came to terms with that decision, I felt pretty good about it, and I haven't really looked back.
In July, it will be a celebration of the sport with UFC 200. I'm assuming you won't be a part of it. Does that bother you? Like, do you hope at one point that you can clear the air with the guys in Vegas and be a part of the history of the sport and be recognized and things like that? Does that eat at you at all?
It's certainly an irritation, and I think that's the way it's meant to be. They're trying to get back at me and to be an irritation to me any way that they can be. I don't like that I pointed out some of the issues with their contracts and the way they treat fighters. And they've never liked that from day one, holding them to contracts and ancillary rights and all those sorts of things that me and my management fought with them over since the day they bought the company. And ultimately holding out to try and get the fight that I wanted in Fedor for 13 months and all that stuff. I think that's all stuff that they're not very forgiving about. And all the other stuff that I did to promote them, all the other money that I made them doesn't matter at the end of the day to them. So, yeah, I would like to be included. It's a sport that I felt like I was involved in seeing grow and become what it's become. I think I get, a ton of feedback from the fans at everything that I do, wishing that I was at Fan Fest and signing autographs and doing all that stuff for them. But it's not really my decision. It's on Zuffa, it's on the organization, and the issue is really theirs, not mine. I've done the best I could to represent myself and the sport in a positive way, and will continue to do that till I die. And the issues really are, Dana White's and Zuffa's. I'm here, working with World Series and working with Bellator and trying to promote the sport, trying to do the right by the fighters that train at my gym, and the rest of it's really on them.
Let's end on this note. Big main event for Bellator on Saturday. To me, it's a fantastic weekend with the UFC and Bellator. I love this fight, King Mo versus Phil Davis, a division that you know a whole lot about. Fighters that are, to a degree, cut from the same cloth as you. They come from the wrestling background. Can you give us are you allowed to make a prediction? I'm curious because I have a really hard time picking this one. Do you have a pick?
Yeah, well, I think that's why it's so interesting, because it is so hard to pick. Obviously, both guys have amazing wrestling pedigrees. King Mo went to Oklahoma State, where I went to school. Phil Davis, a Nittany Lion from Penn State, and an amazing wrestler himself. So then does that negate itself? Is it now boiled down to, okay, whose striking is better, whose submission is better? If we start breaking it down that way, we'll probably say that Mo's a little more dynamic striker, although that has gotten him into some trouble. And Phil was probably a better guy on the ground in submissions. We've seen more submissions and submission attempts from Phil Davis than we have from Mo. So it's really one of those fights. They're both amazing athletes. If they both show up, it is going to be a barn burner for sure.
Yeah.
And tough to pick.
Are you sitting on the fence, Randy? You can't sit on the fence.
Well, I like both guys. I've been around both guys. They're both, gregarious, great personalities, good cats. There's my orange and black strings from Oklahoma State that are tugging on me a little bit.
Okay.
Phil Davis is a super guy as well. Trains a lot with my old ground coach Neil Melanson, who which makes me want to pull for him a little bit. So I'm glad I'm not connected to either one of them, and I can just sit on the outside and enjoy an amazing fight.
All right, fair enough. I don't just say it because you're on. It really is an honor every time I get to speak to you. It has been a while, so I really appreciate it. Thank you for everything that you're doing, and in particular this weekend with the Valve fights. What a great thing that is. I appreciate some time here today, Randy. Thank you. All the best, and we'll talk to you very soon.
You bet, Hero. Thanks, buddy.
All right, there he is, the natural, Randy Couture. We could talk to him for hours. Didn't get into a lot of the movie stuff that he's doing, but a very busy man, traveling all over the world, doing some fantastic stuff as of late. And again, a part of that Valve Fights prelims of this weekend's Bellator MMA card, Bellator 154 at the SAP Center, the Shark Tank in San Jose. Main event is Phil Davis versus King Mo. As I mentioned last week on the MMA Beat, 198 is stacked. That card is as good as any of the UFC has put on, in my opinion, and it's perfect for that market because you have all the Brazilian heroes, a lot of the Curitiba's, Curitiba's finest products of Curitiba coming home, Shogun, Cyborg, Anderson Silva. It's just fantastic for that market. But that Bellator main event is great as well. And in fact, I will not be in Curitiba. This has nothing to do with, the stuff that, was going on as of late. It has nothing to do with that. This was actually decided long before I stopped working with Fox. In fact, it's my son's birthday party on Sunday, and I did not want to miss that, among many other things. So I will actually be at home watching my first UFC pay-per-view since UFC 171. So it's been a stretch of around 27 pay-per-views, if my math is correct, in a row. And I'm actually looking forward to just, watching both and seeing what it is. Sometimes when I'm at those pay-per-views and there's a Bellator World Series, I miss that. I have to watch it. I'm going to go back and forth like you guys with the remote control. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a fun night for MMA. One guy who I know will be in San Jose at the SAP Center, going back home, Scott Coker, Bellator CEO. He joins us right now on the phone. Scott, how are you?
Doing great. How are you, Ariel?
Great to talk to you, Scott. So a lot to talk to you about, and I appreciate the time as we kick off your big fight week. I would be remiss, though, if I don't bring up Jordan Parsons, a tragic story. He was supposed to fight on this card. Unfortunately passed away after the hit-and-run incident. You've been involved in this sport as a promoter for a very long time. I would imagine last week one of the tougher weeks for you. Was it not?
Yeah, it's just such a tragedy. Here you have a young kid, in Florida training for the fight in San Jose, and and to get a hit and run and the guy take off, and I'm so happy they caught him.
Yeah.
It's just everybody here is still in shock, and it's just a tragedy, man. I mean, it goes way beyond fighting, or it's just life. And I had a long conversation with his mom today.
Oh, wow.
Which was, she's a strong lady, man. A lot stronger than I would be, Ariel, honestly.
Yes.
And we were just talking about different ways that we could get involved and things that Jordan wanted. And, he was a guy that we had a lot of hope for, an up-and-coming talent. And now he's gone, so it's just a tragedy all the way around.
Yeah, and that is a really nice gesture on your part, especially after Mother's Day. I can't imagine, what's going on with the family. And I'm putting you on the spot here, and feel free to just say no comment. But will Bellator be doing anything for him or his family? Anything at all? Are there any plans in place? Okay,
absolutely, and we'll have something to announce. But most of it, honestly, is going to be between us and the family.
I respect that.
Really, it's a private matter, and it's something that like I said, she's a strong lady, and man, it was just an inspiration to talk to her, and she is taking it all in and still in shock, and the whole family. But she expressed to me today some of the things that are very important to Jordan, which we're going to support and we're going to back, and we're going to be there for her and the family.
I respect that very much. So Bellator 154, it's Phil Davis versus King Mo. This is one of the best light heavyweight fights. You say in the UFC, outside of the UFC. I mean, this is a fantastic fight, main event. Is it fair to say, because Maguire has been out for a little bit, that the winner of this is going to get the next title shot? Is that pretty much set in stone?
I mean, just to look at our division here, this logically would make the next step would be the winner to fight Liam, although injuries and timing and how that goes. So, I'll reserve, comment on that, but we would like to have it, be the next step. And the reason why we brought Phil into Bellator is so he could fight King Mo. That's the big fight. That's the fight that I wanted to see happen, and we tried to put it together in that tournament. And unfortunately, King Mo got injured in the first round, couldn't continue. Phil became the champ, the tournament champ, and now we finally get to put it together. And it's fight week, and things are starting to buzz around here, and I think it's going to be an amazing fight. And hey, it's free on Spike. Tune in.
Okay, so that's actually what I wanted to ask you about next, the buzz in the Bay Area. So that's your market. You grew that market. You made that market. That was yours for many, many years. And then you had to take a bit of a break after the sale to Zuffa. Does it feel like, the mid-2000s, the late 2000s, I should say, like the heyday? Or do you feel like there's still some work to be done in that market to revive MMA there?
I'll tell you, when we did the Dynamite show, it felt very much like, hey, we're back. We had 11,000 people in the building. It was a great show, great night, big. It just felt like a big show. And then, this fight we've had a lot of injuries, and there was, the passing of Jordan, as you know, and Josh Thompson had to pull out. So, we're taking some hits here and there. But you know what? At the end of the day, we got a main event that is amazing, and it's going to be, in my mind, I think this fight might be end up, believe it or not, standing up, because I think these guys, these wrestling, the skills that these guys have wrestling is going to, compromise each other, and it's going to end up being who's the better striker. I think that's my opinion.
What are you going to do with Michael Chandler now?
Like, well, you know what? We, because of Jordan Parsons thing last week, and we just kind of put it on the table.
Okay.
But we'll address it this week going into the fight, and we'll probably have an announcement at the event what we're going to do with Chandler next.
You always use these big events to put on like big press conferences, like the kickboxing one a couple months ago that you were starting Bellator kickboxing, and the Dynamite. Are we doing that again, or can we just make the announcement here on this show and like save the press conference? What do you got planned for this week? I always feel like you got something big.
Aaron,
yes.
Listen, come to the Bay Area.
Okay.
Right? Come to the show, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Warriors game.
Oh, yes.
On Wednesday. We'll go to the Warriors game on Wednesday. They're going to beat Portland, and they're going to clinch it at home.
You think so?
And then you come to the fight, and we'll have our announcement, and you'll be part of the whole week of festivities.
You're not getting a little nervous there with your Warriors? I mean, that was quite the showing on Saturday. Steph is injured, 2-1. I'm getting a little worried for you. I'm not going to lie.
You know what? I tell you, Portland's tough.
Yes.
And they're no slouch, and we got our hands full. But I really believe that we can get it done without Steph, and Steph will be back for the next round, and either OKC or the Spurs.
Fair enough.
But listen, Errol, you're welcome to come down. I got great seats. We'll hang out. It'll be a fun time.
Very kind of you. Can I be honest? I'll be honest with you here. I love this main event. You know I love it. I've been talking about it. This is what I want Bellator main events to be. I don't want the other Bellator main events. Can we move more towards this? And enough?
You know what? Let me defend myself here.
Okay.
Listen, we have 25 MMA fights this year.
Yeah.
In a calendar year, and we do 2 fights that are, the fun fights, or what we call the legend fights. We have 2 of those. The other 23 are exactly what you guys are looking for. And so to me, it's like, come on, you got to give us a little bit of a break, because the math works the other way, and not the
sure.
the fun fights way. So to me, it's like, look, we a couple times a year, we're going to put on those fun fights, but the other 23 are right down the alley, right down the lane for what you like and what the hardcore fans like. So to me, we have something for everybody.
Okay, fair enough. I know different strokes for different folks, but can you agree that the Dada Kimbo fight was kind of a disaster? I mean, how it all ended up. Like we're not going to go back to that well of putting in a guy who's like 1-0 or not even 1-0 in a main event and doesn't know how to weight cut. I mean, that could have turned out really, really bad. You don't need me to tell you that, right?
Well, the thing is that, look, when he came into, and we haven't even talked about this, and I haven't talked about this to the media at all, but
okay.
when Dada came into town, he was 1 pound heavy.
Wow.
It wasn't. We weighed these guys when they come into town. We weigh every fighter when they come into town on Monday, and so on Monday, the week of the fight, he weighed 1 pound heavy. He didn't have weight cutting to do. That's where there's a lot of misinformation, and
okay.
people aren't getting the facts straight. And then we just decided not to address it. But the fact is, and I'm telling you right now for the first time we've talked about this, is that the guy didn't cut weight the week of the fight.
So what happened?
He had done all his weight before. You know what? That's a much longer conversation than we have today. But I'm happy to jump on it at another time and talk about it.
Fair enough. Although he's saying a lot of negative things about Bellator. You've seen this stuff, right? He does not seem happy with you guys.
Well, I mean, you know what? Everybody has their opinion, and you know what? God bless him. I mean, I'm glad he's healthy and safe, and he has his own platform to go fight in, and he's going to go do his thing. But I don't think we have a bad relationship with him. I just think he has an opinion, and listen, I respect it. This is a free country. You can say what you want.
Is it fair to say though that he's not fighting for Bellator anymore?
Like I said, I think we should just be friends. Friends is a good thing. Friends are forever.
Okay, I like that. That's kind of like the polite way to break up with someone. Let's just be friends. He may not want.
Friends.
Yes. Wow. Okay. So you were on SportsCenter when you broke this news, which was a fun spot. And you mentioned something that I talked about on this show the next day, how you feel like the sport is being regulated by the government and that's enough. But I said that feels like that's like 2011 thought process. Like we've realized that the government doesn't do enough. And I don't want to say like, oh, Bellator needs a USADA. But don't you feel like, the Texas commissions and these commissions just aren't doing enough when it comes to PED testing and all that? Like to say that the government is testing just doesn't fly anymore in 2016?
I tell you, I disagree, and I don't think you know how much testing is going on in this company. And if you talk to Mike Mazzulli or Andy Foster, there's a lot. I mean, all of our guys are getting tested, not all, but our big fights are getting tested all pre-test, and then night of testing, and even post-test. I mean, these guys are getting tested, and you should call Mike Mazzulli. You should ask him. You should call Andy Foster. You should talk to him. But, for 31 years, we've been regulated by the state athletic commissions. The other way, Arrow, that's the other companies are using, it's like, look, they're doing, they're the judge, the jury, and the executioner, right?
What do you mean by that?
I don't think that ever works. I mean, you can't be doing self. I don't think you can self-regulate and expect it to have, a long-term solution to a sport has to be regulated by the outside. That's what I think. I think there needs to be a national board of some kind or a national, like testing procedures brought on by the federal government.
Wow. Hello, are you still there? Did we lose Scott? I think we lost him. Well, that was a really interesting point. I'm wondering if he was actually suggesting like a national commission as opposed to state commissions. Is he back? Did we lose him? Okay. We're going to call him right back. Certainly an interesting point. And I appreciate what he was saying there. I'm curious if that's what he was getting at, because that's actually something that I've talked about on this show, and people haven't liked that idea, where I feel like if everyone was in unison, everyone was on the same page, and we had one commission overseeing the entire sport in the country, just in this country, just in the United States, I feel like things would be better off. And I still maintain that a national commission, well, I maintain that the commissions just, for the most part, now I know that there's some in California, and Vegas is doing more. I mean, they're certainly doing out of competition drug testing. The rest aren't doing that sort of thing. And the punishments are different depending on, we know the reputation of some of these commissions. So it is a tough spot. I mean, California, which is where this fight is taking place, I have no issues. I mean, I think that they are actually, honestly, maybe the gold standard right now as far as mixed martial arts is concerned. So anyway, I want to talk to Scott. Just a few more minutes left with Scott Coker. I think his phone died on us. First we had Marc's computer crashing on us. Now we have his phone. In a few minutes, we'll actually talk to a man that Scott Coker knows a whole lot about. Gilbert Melendez will be joining us. Have been wanting to talk to Gilbert for some time. Former Strikeforce lightweight champion, if you recall. And then we've got Alistair Overeem, another guy that Scott Coker knows a whole lot about. Former Strikeforce heavyweight champion. Could you imagine if that organization was still around with the fighters that they had? It's slowly but surely morphing back into the Strikeforce of old. But when you look at that roster, just the one, I'm not talking about like the history of Strikeforce. I'm talking about the Strikeforce that was sold to Zuffa in March of 2011. Nick Diaz, Chris Cyborg, Alistair Overeem, Tyron Woodley, Gilbert Melendez, Josh Thompson, Luke Rockhold. Oh, Scott, are you there? That scared me. Scott, did we lose you? You back?
Yeah, was it something I said?
No, it wasn't. I was actually, there was something you said right at the end. Are you saying, Scott, that you want a national commission, like one commission to rule over the entire sport?
Yeah, because that's really where I think the breakdown is because every state has different penalties, different rules, different regulations. So when we go to, let's say, Connecticut, or we go to California, or we go to, Florida or Texas, they're all different rules and regulations. And sometimes, listen, our guys. I mean, look at the penalty with some of our guys, 3 years.
Yeah.
For Slamenko's punishment, right? And Nick Diaz, in Nevada was 5 years.
Crazy.
In California, that would have been 30 days or 60 days. I mean, it's just the inconsistency is it's something that has to be regulated. And I think the only way it works is if the rules are the same for everybody and it's regulated by an outside commission and not something that's or outside sanctioning body or outside body and not internally.
Okay. I like that. I like that very much. Okay, we're running out of time. I know you have a meeting coming up, so let me ask you a couple more things. You know I like to pepper you with these questions before I let you go. What's the status of Wanderlei Silva? When's he going to fight? When's he going to debut? Is he going to fight before that suspension is up?
I mean, Wanderlei, I think he has some things in Japan, and he's booked. And then, sometime I talked to Saki Ibarra, and I think that he said they're going to have him do something. I'm not sure if it's a grappling match or a fight or.
Well, he did that already.
But they're going to use. Yeah, I think they're going to do something else. I think in September.
Oh.
And so with Wanderlei, look, he's on suspension till May of next year, and then we'll pick it up from there. And I'm excited because listen, we got some great fights ahead for him. I mean, look at him and the potential Quentin Jackson fight,
yes,
rematch, and him and Tito Ortiz fighting again. And there's just a lot of really interesting fights for him, and I'm excited to get him activated on our roster.
So you will wait till the May suspension, when that comes to a close, and then you'll book him.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, this is to me the biggest mystery in MMA right now. The state of your lightweight champion, Will Brooks. What is going on here? Is he going to fight? What's happening? Can you finally tell us what's going on with Will Brooks?
Well, you know what? I tell you, I thought I would have an answer for you because I would say look at the result of the fight between Josh and Michael Chandler, but now it gets pushed back a little bit, so I don't have an answer for you. But maybe the next time we chat, we'll have something for you.
But I understand his contract is coming up. Are you going to re-sign him, or are you going to let that expire? What are you going to do with him? I think he's a fantastic talent. I know he said some things. He's been a bit of a malcontent, but do you want to be in business with him?
Well, here's the thing: is that like I said, sometimes fighters are happy until they're not happy, and then they're not happy until they're happy. I mean, you know how this business goes. It's just like a wave, man, and you just gotta ride the wave sometimes. And my only focus right now is on the fight card this Saturday night, and we've got a great fight card. Cyborg Santos is coming back fighting Asad Awad in a quick turnaround.
Yes.
And Cyborg looked great his last fight, so we're excited to have him back. And then Karatanov is going to be his first fight in Bellator.
Yes.
I haven't. We haven't fought. He hasn't fought on a fight roster that I was part of for the last couple of years, and we just got a lot of great things in the fire for this Saturday night. So and it's an earlier start time. It's starting at 5 p.m. 8 p.m. Eastern and Pacific, and it's not 9 o'clock like it normally is on the thing. So, make sure that everybody knows that it's an 8 p.m. start time Eastern.
Well, that is very interesting. Okay, last question for you. Will Benson Henderson go back down to 155, and do you regret putting him at 170 in his debut?
That was something that when he came to Bellator, we sat down, we talked to him, and he wanted to fight at 170, felt comfortable, and he wanted to fight Koreshkov. So he wanted to fight the title holder, and so we promoted the fight, and the fight, you saw the fight. I mean,
yes.
Benson, man, what a warrior, man. This guy has a chin unlike anybody I've ever seen. And Koreshkov dominated the fight, as you clearly saw, and he won the decision. But we will have a conversation because we think there's a lot of great fights at 155 for Benson. And then, if he wants to move back up later, he could fight some of the guys. But we have fighters that can fight him in both weights. It's just really what he wants to do. And, it's going to be a conversation we have with him here probably after this fight's over this weekend.
All right. Scott, great to catch up as always. Good luck this weekend. Look forward to watching from my home. But one of these days I will be seeing you in person, all right?
Well, when you come out on basketball season. If not, you can always, tune in for free on Spike.
All right. I look forward to it. There he is, Scott Coker, Bellator CEO. Appreciate his time very much. And interesting to note they're starting at 8 p.m. on Spike TV. Clearly not to coincide with the 198 pay-per-view, so you can go 8 to 10. That goes up against the FS1 prelims, which are fantastic as well. You go 8 to 10 on Spike, and then you can watch the pay-per-view not going up against anything. So I think that's a smart move on their part. All right, let's move along. Let's actually talk to a guy that Scott Coker knows very well, his former Strikeforce lightweight champion. Gilbert Melendez is on the line right now. Gilbert, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you, Ariel?
I'm doing great. Tell the people so they don't think I'm lying. In the last 11 months or so, how many times have I asked you to come on this show?
Maybe like once or so. I'm not too sure. How
annoying have I been? I mean, it's great that you won't have to hear from me for a little bit, right?
No, it's good, man. I've just been under the radar, but I'm back. You
are back. Congratulations on being back. July 23rd, you're fighting Edson Barboza in Chicago. Let me first ask you about that. Is that a good scenario for you? Like, was this the kind of comeback that you liked? Was this the kind of fight, the stage that you like? Are you happy with what they gave you in your return?
Yeah, I am happy. Overall, I am happy. He's definitely a tough opponent. There's definitely not a tune-up fight going here. I'm just jumping right into it.
Yep.
But yeah, he's a very dangerous fighter. I know what I'm up against, but right now there are no easy fights in the division. I know you hear that a lot. And a win over Barboza would really put me back in the mix.
So were you kind of hoping for a tune-up fight?
No, I wouldn't say that. I was just hoping for like a late July return.
Okay.
And it was the first name that came up. I know he just beat Pettis. And I saw it, and I looked at it, and I said, yeah, let's do it. And at this point, honestly, I didn't feel like I was going to say no to whoever they offered me.
Mm-hmm. How difficult has this past year been for you, being out, not being able to fight, earn a living as a fighter? Has this been the most difficult year and frustrating year of your career?
At the beginning of the year, it was tough. You know, it was tough dealing with the situation, and you know, I was bummed. You know, but you know, I got to rest my mind a lot. You know, it's hard to rest your body as a professional fighter. You know, if you take 2 months off, you fall behind so much. So I stayed active as a fighter training, but you know, I got to rest my mind, and I feel like being a fighter, fighting a lot, and doing a lot of TV, a lot of work can be overwhelming. So you know, the downtime was good. It was good to spend some extra time with my family and have fun training. And you know, I'm an optimistic guy, so I made the best out of the situation.
So obviously, I would be remiss if I don't ask you about what happened last year. And I know you want to move on, and I respect that. But is there anything, because from what I understand, you haven't really talked about it in any interview. There's nothing I can go back to. Is there anything that you can tell us about what happened here? You put out your statement in July when the news came out that you had failed that drug test. But can you shed any light on what occurred there?
Well, you know, I really don't want to go down a rabbit hole or anything like that, but the gist of it is I made a mistake. You know, I made a mistake that won't happen again, and you know, I'm not proud of this, and you know, and I'm doing my best to move on from it, and you know, I hope everyone else can, and it's understandable if they can't, but you know, I just want to do everything in my power to, you know, to prove I'm still a warrior and I'm a great fighter, and just, you know, just trying to move forward, to be honest.
If I could be honest, I feel like I'm so surprised that more fighters don't say what you just said, as opposed to giving us a story, some convoluted thing. Saying I made a mistake, to me, I mean, it doesn't necessarily excuse anything, but it makes it, I can move on. You know, I feel like are you surprised that more people don't say that? Is it hard for you to even say that? Because I feel like we never get that response from athletes when things like this happen. And I'm surprised that we're an understanding public, and I'm surprised more don't do that. Is that a difficult thing for you to say?
You know, it's not. You know, it's not. Like I said, man, I'm just bummed about the whole situation. You know, every fighter handles it their own way, or they got to say what they have to say. You know, I'm more disappointed about the whole situation, and no, it's not, man. I'm just, you know, I'm disappointed about that, but it's not hard to say I made a mistake, and I did, and I just want to move on from it, you know.
Are you worried that this will stick with you forever? Or do you think people will be understanding because you're being upfront and saying I made a mistake, and you know they'll remember all the great fights and things like that?
You know, I try not to think about that too much.
Okay.
You know, but I do. You know, I do have a bunch of loved ones around me that, you know, love me unconditionally, and I feel like I have fans the same way, and you know, and you know, and that's why I just want to redeem myself. I want to go out there and fight. That's why I'm excited to fight Barboza. You know, people are telling me I'm going to get killed, you know, and I'm looking forward to show my heart, to show my durability, and to show my courage out there, you know. I know I'm an older cat now, but that stuff lasts forever, you know, and you know, and I just got to go out there and show it to everybody.
And last question on this: do you sort of feel like did you feel like you were pressured into making any kind of mistake? Like, was there something going on in your life or your career or injury, something that you felt like you needed to do this before this fight? Is there anything you could say about that?
No, not much. You know, I just, you know, yeah, sometimes, you know, just, you know, you look, you know, you're trying to do everything you can, and you know, you slip up and make a mistake, you know? Okay.
Fair enough. And I respect it. Did you feel like you're almost a rookie now because there's all eyes on you and you're fighting on Fox against Barboza, who's looked so good? Like, is there more pressure in a weird way on you going into this fight than any of your other big fights in the past, including the UFC title fights?
Oh my gosh, there's always pressure in a fight, you know, and it's not so much from like my peers or what, but just stepping in with top level guys, you know, and challenging myself. You know what I mean? I could have easily just said no to Barboza. You know, I could have easily said no to fighting. I could have never came back if I wanted to. You know what I mean? I could have said, you know, I could have done whatever I wanted. You know, but you know, but I want a challenge. I want to see where I'm at. You know, I've been away for a year. I'm not getting any younger. I'm 34 years old now. I've been through a lot of wars, and you know, and there's no easy way to do it. You just got to go up and confront it head on, and see where you're at. And that's what I'm trying to do with Barboza. And you know, getting past him would say so much.
Did you actually consider not fighting again?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, I would say when I was training for fights and things were going kind of fast and I was moving along, I was overwhelmed, and it wasn't as enjoyable. You know what I mean? And fighting is like a girlfriend. You know what I mean? You love her, you get pissed at her, you break up with her, and you want her back, and that's all it is. But I love the sport. Fighting aside, I mean, fans aside, money aside, all that stuff aside, like, I'm a born warrior. You know what I mean? I've done this forever, and I've done it for free. I've done it in a barn, 2 fights in one night for $500. It's beyond the big stage. It's just something that I've done forever, and it's something I'll do to the day I die. Maybe not on a big stage, but I'll always do martial arts. And being a martial artist, from my point of view, I like to test my skills. I like to test the stuff I've been working on, and maybe I won't always do that on a big stage, but it's something that's in me, and I love it. I love fighting, and I'm blessed to be able to do it.
So considering all of that, what was it like a few months ago to be there when your wife was fighting on a big stage? I mean, was that more difficult than any other fight? I can't imagine what that's like for you. Or did you enjoy it? I mean, what's going through your mind when your wife is in there?
My wife is in there. I was extremely proud of her performance, man. She's a star. She's good, and I have total confidence in her. And I think she had a tough opponent. She made her look like easy work, but we did our video, and the girl was a durable girl who puts on a lot of pressure, and Kerry shut her down. And as her opponents are going to get stronger, I believe my nerves will grow more and more. It is tough to watch. But as she makes the transition to MMA, I know I'll be a little bit more nervous. But I think she's just so good that I wasn't as worried. You know what I mean? And I know when she puts in her work, I felt confident about her. But it's definitely tough sitting in the sideline and watching her throw down. But once she's in her element and she's kicking butt, you feel good about it.
Do you want her to stick to one sport as opposed to the other, or do you like her going back and forth?
Oh, no, I like her doing MMA. It's just, it's really cool that Bellator is, having MMA and kickboxing, and they're letting fighters do both. And, and I think she's definitely a black belt in kickboxing, and she wants to make her transition to MMA, and she definitely has the skills. It's something she's been working on for a long time. And I think she'll sign in the division, I think she'll sign, fighting MMA. I think she's shit, man, she might be better than me.
Well, I mean, she has a lot of work to do there, but that would be quite the story as well. So let me ask you about another fighter, a female fighter, Leslie Smith. She has a gigantic test ahead of her on Saturday. Did you help her prepare for Chris Cyborg?
I did. I definitely did, man. I even jumped in and sparred with her, and she worked real closely with Jongson, the Wooden Man, and yes, I did. And if there's one thing about Leslie is that she is not a coward, and she is built on courage, and that's a fighter that you see out there. And one of their strengths is her heart, and her willingness to fight. She was going to fight without an ear in Mexico City and wanted to keep on going. And I put the pressure on her, and I try to chuck them at her and try to give her my best Cyborg look. And she holds the ground. She's definitely not going to cower down. And I think it's easy to fetal up and take a knee against some strikers like that and look to get TKO'd before you're even KO'd. And I don't think I'll see that from her at all. I don't think she's that type of person. She'll go out on her shield, literally.
So as her coach and also as an analyst, or one of her training partners, you've been with her for a very long time. Do you see the path to victory for her? Cyborg has looked, unstoppable. Do you see a path? Like, what are you envisioning? How Leslie's going to beat her?
When I talk to Leslie, I say, go look at her kickboxing fight. Go look at that kickboxing fight she's fought over and over. Watch her get dropped over and over. You know what I mean? And, Cyborg is a beast. She is scary, but she's pretty predictable. She doesn't have too much of a finesse. Her main thing is she's a monster that'll just pick you up and throw you and will come at you chucking, so what she's going to do, and of course her skills are growing, but I encourage her to watch that tape, and we know what Cyborg's going to do. She doesn't really come out with different strategies or game plans. She comes to kill, and so with that, we worked our tricks. She worked our tricks closely with Jongson, the Wooden Man, my coach. I sat there and watched. My wife helped spar with her to increase the speed, and and I think she has some tricks up her sleeve that could maybe rock Cyborg to change the momentum of the fight. And and we have a strategy, and I think there's always hope. There's always a possibility, and if anyone could pull this off, it's definitely her.
Wow, that is amazing. Before I let you go, I got to ask, what's it like for you to see what's happened to Nate Diaz, the star that he's become, winning on that stage, that big payday, all that stuff? What's that like for you to see that come together for him, who's kind of always been in the shadows of his brother?
I'm extremely happy for Nate. I feel like he's not only evolved as a fighter over the years, but just as like a as a man and a businessman, and knowing what he wanted.
Yeah.
And he got it. He knew what he wanted. And managers help, people talk to you, get you, whatever. But at the end of the day, Nate Diaz took the center of the octagon, and he took the center of the business field, and he said what he wanted, and he got it, and he straight manifested that. Like, he made that happen. Like, I seen it within a year happen. We talk closely, and I seen him do it. And, there's other parts, but it's like he made that happen, and it was motivating, and it's great to see, and I'm happy for him, well-deserved. He's putting so much time in the sport, and, and a lot of it is strategizing, and a lot of us are just, we're youngster warriors ready to sign a dotted line and just fight, but a lot of it's not just as easy as that. It's fighting and strategizing and not taking a certain fight and doing certain things, and he's never been that cat, but I just, I'm pretty proud of him, and he's great, man. He's, I'm asking that kid for advice and seeing what he has to say, and it's great. It's great being around him, and it's, I'm lucky to have cool friends like that. I think our team stands for a little more than like just being a tough team. Everyone knows all these guys are tough fighters or they're down to scrap, whatever. I think we also represent like loyalty and brotherhood, and that's kind of like forgotten nowadays, I think, sometimes. And so yeah, man. So it's I'm just proud of him and just happy for him.
Do you think it would be a huge mistake if this rematch actually does happen? Do you think Conor is biting up more than he can chew?
No, I don't think this is a huge mistake at all. I think this is a great fight for Conor to do back, because if he, I think if he fights Nate, he's going to have a battle and he wants to try to prove something, but I totally believe Nate will beat him again. But now he can go back to 45s and go defend his title and have life again, I think. I think 2 losses against Nate Diaz is more forgiving than a loss to Nate Diaz and then going to 45s and possibly losing there again. I think he has life. He has life if he fights again after Nate again.
Right. 2 last quick things. Did you catch wind of this whole thing when they announced the Reebok kits that they misspelt your name? Did you know?
Yeah.
I know. What did you make of all that? I've always wanted to ask you this, the Gilbert thing.
Yeah, no, nothing, man. People, it was a typo. I mean, I didn't stress about it. My Twitter was all blown up that day, and people were like so disrespectful, and I really didn't care. I really don't care. I have my Scrap Pack Fight Shop right now,
yes.
And the Reebok rep has been really cool there, and people are losing money on sponsors, and it's just a transitional period, and I try, like I said, I'm optimistic, dude. I like the fact that I was able to make some cash while I had the chance on sponsors, and and that they allowed that to happen. And and if this is not my company, I don't get to call the shots. They call the shots, and it's, you got to roll with the punches, and Reebok's a part of it. I just hope I can design my own Reebok stuff one day and come out feeling completely comfortable in my gear and liking it. So it just it did not bother me as much as I think it bothered some other people.
Okay, that is good to know. And how that was actually my last question. How is the store doing? And where can if people are in the area, where can they go see it?
Yeah, no, thanks for asking, dude. The shop's doing great. We're in Stonestown Mall in San Francisco, California. So if anyone's in town, come check it out. We got all the gear. Scrappack.com with the K, SKRAP, PACK.com. If you want to check some stuff out, the site is live, but we don't have everything up yet. We got everything. We got Ray's gloves, which I really like. We got some good bad boy stuff. We hold some Ruka. And we got our Scrap Pack stuff. We got Nate Diaz's represent stuff. And, yeah, we're trying to – I think MMA needs its own culture a little bit. And, we're trying to have our own store to express our culture a little bit more.
I like it. All right. Well, best of luck. I saw the scenes when the store opened and all the people showed up. That was really cool to see. So good luck to you and the family with the store. And again, I appreciate you coming on. I'm going to leave you alone now, Gilbert. Thank you very much. And, kudos to you on how you handled it. Thank you very much for that. And good luck in the fight. Looking forward to seeing you back.
Right on, Ariel. Thank you, man. Take it easy.
All right. There he is. Gilbert Melendez stopping by. It's always tough. I feel like my mouth wants to say Gilbert for a second because that's stuck in my brain. But it's Gilbert Melendez. Thankfully, they have corrected that. And he is back July 23rd. Look, it doesn't excuse anything that he did. But much like I've talked about in the past, Andy Pettitte, in my opinion, the former pitcher for the New York Yankees, handled it better than anyone. He came out and said, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. And no one really talks about that when they talk about his career. Yeah, I mean, if you do like a real retrospective on his career, you have to talk about that. But, it took him a while, but he came on and said, I messed up, I'm sorry. And that's that. And I feel like people really respect that. I feel like for the most part, the public has been told different stories along the way when it comes to this stuff. It's, it's just better. And I know it's easier said than done. Trust me, I know. I recognize that 100%. But I have a feeling people, he can come out and say, look, I made a mistake. That's it. Let's move on. And I really think that was the right way to go about it. You don't have to go into the gory details, everything that went on, why he did it, how he did it, all that stuff. Came out, put out a statement when it happened. Just wanted to talk a little more. And I definitely appreciate him coming on to talk about it. So kudos to Gilbert Melendez, always one of the good guys in the sport. Messed up, admitted, and now, at least I can move along and not bother him anymore, because Lord knows I have been bothering him. All right, in a minute, hopefully we're going to be joined by Alistair Overeem, who is on top of the MMA world right now. I mean, I can't imagine what's going through Alistair Overeem, coming back home, fighting in Rotterdam, fighting in his home country, and winning like that. Not just getting the win, but winning like that. The karate kick. That was fantastic. Finishing Andrei Arlovski. Trying to get a hold of him now. Seems like we're having some phone issues. I'm not sure why. But we will get in touch with him in a second. And then after that, we're going to talk to Stefan Struve. And then we're going to talk to Roxanne Modaferri. In the middle of that, we might get to some questions, although the delay might affect that. So let's see. All right. We're going to get to the phones in a second. So yeah, Alistair Overeem, what a performance that was. He has now won 4 in a row against very tough competition. He's going to call me a salmon now for being delayed. Wrong guy to be late for. Stefan Struve, TKO, actually a KO win in Phoenix. That was a solid win. KO'd him in the first round. Roy Nelson, then at UFC 185, decision win, TKO win over Junior Dos Santos at UFC on Fox in Orlando. And then yesterday, also winning the performance of the night with his victory over Andrei Arlovski. Now won 4 in a row, 5 of his last 6, if you include the win over Frank Mir at 169. Did have the speed bump against Ben Rothwell, but he is on a roll, and in my opinion, it's now a no-brainer. You got to give him the title shot. He is very popular. He comes with a very loyal fan base. He's been in the sport for a long time. This is why they brought him to the UFC in the first place. Remember, he was supposed to get the title shot after beating Brock Lesnar. That didn't materialize. Did beat Brock Lesnar, but this is why they got him from Strikeforce. And that would certainly... Did you see the Reem documentary? I mean, there seemed to be a lot going on before this winning streak, but winning this belt, that would make him a UFC champion, Strikeforce champion, K1 champion in kickboxing, Dream interim champion. I mean, what a resume that is. It is going to be interesting in a few years' time to see what this does for Dutch MMA. Because you see UFC 93 and what that did for Irish MMA, the first event in Dublin. It's going to be really interesting to see if there are young kids who will come back like a Conor McGregor, like a Cathal Pendred, like a Paddy Holohan, like an Aisling Daly, the list going on, who said, I was there watching Alistair Overeem beat Andrei Arlovsky. I was there watching Jermaine Darren Damian. What a walkout that was. So emotional with her family. Gosh. Okay, let me figure this out. Where are we at, guys? Can someone get on the phone? Because we're a bit of a time crunch here, and we have to get Alistair on before he has to go on national television in 15 minutes. Yes? Okay. Okay, but we have... This is a bit of a problem. Let us just rectify this here. Yes, because his line is not working. Let me try to figure this out. I mean, can we do Skype? Yeah. Yes. Okay. Let's take a quick break here. Let's play Y'all Must Have Forgot. This is my post-fight interview with King Mo Lawal after he won the Strikeforce Light Heavyweight Championship, one of my favorite interviews of all time. And I'm going to explain how this goes down, and then we'll be back with Alistair Overeem. Stick around. Ariel Helwani post-fight at Strikeforce Nashville with the new Strikeforce Light Heavyweight Champion, King Mohamed Lawal. King Mo, how does that sound?
It sounds pretty good, man. You know, I'm happy.
You had a lot of critics, a lot of people who said you were too young, too inexperienced, too cocky. What do you say to them now?
You already know. You know, so you know what I'm going to say to them, like I always say, F them. I don't give a damn. You know what I'm saying? Everyone got critics. I've always been doubted my whole life, and I just keep on proving them wrong by winning. It's my first world title, man. I tried 4 years, man, in wrestling. Even I tried my whole life in wrestling to get a world title, man, and I finally got one, but it's an MMA, and you know, I made it happen.
You're feeling pretty emotional right now.
Yeah.
Destiny? You feel 7 professional fights, and you get a world title. Did you think it would come this quickly?
I didn't know, man. I just like to thank, like, you know, all my coaches, you know, Coach Mel, Daddy, you know, Ryan, Parsons, Dean, you know, Fabricio, Kevin Jackson, you know, David James and John Smith, because they helped me get here, man. It's been a long journey, man, but I finally got here. It's my first world title, man. It's something real.
Well, it was a very impressive performance. You dominated, you know, decisively 4 out of the 5 rounds. Were you happy with what you accomplished out there in terms of your performance?
No, not at all. I could have made it easier, but I got lazy a few times, man. I took him for granted because I didn't respect the skills all too much because I knew I could beat him. I should have taken it a little more serious. I could have finished him because that was my plan, to finish him. I didn't want him to go 5 rounds. I wanted to leave him laying, you know, sleeping, but he's tough, man. He's seasoned.
How about the takedowns? I mean, you were able to take him down at ease. Were you surprised that his takedown defense just, you know, he just couldn't stop? You know, you were taking him down at ease.
MMA, man, ain't nobody got good takedown defense, man. People don't know that, but you know, you hear a good takedown defense, it's a joke. Cause you put me against anybody in MMA, I'm gonna take him down. You know what I'm saying? There are a few guys like Dan Cormier I struggle with, even Rashad, because Rashad's athletic and he knows good baseline defense. But for the most part, a lot of guys, they don't got good baseline D, so I could take him down all day.
Did he hurt you seriously at any point in the fight?
Nah, man, except I felt like he hit me with his knuckle in my eye, you know, his thumb in my eye, but he couldn't hurt me, you know, even the kicks. My coach right here punished me so much. You know, he's beat me up more than anybody, him and my mama and Danny, you know, all my trainers beat me up. And that right there, all the punishment I took from them prepared me for this day.
Okay, final question. How are you going to celebrate this victory?
I got after party at Common. After that, I'm going to go just lay down and watch TV.
All right. Congrats. I believe there it is. It's back. Okay. I told okay, we're trying to figure this out. All of a sudden, The freaking phones in the back just decided not to work. Again, it's the MMA gods. It's because I spoke about. Okay, now it's back. Let me know if that works. Whew. Live. No, don't check my mic. It's good. It's good. Just try that second number there that I just gave you. And it should work. Hopefully we get them. Just bear with me here for a second. Give me an update. Is anything going on? Okay. Hey, Alex. This is what I should have done. You didn't get him there, right? Which is the landline there? Is it the 359? The 3591? Okay, let me just do this here. This is fun. Yes. Yes. Oh, I messed that up. Say it again. 41. Yes. 2, yes. Okay, I gave them that one. This is great. We're going to get Alistair. Don't worry. I believe. Apparently, he's going on national television in a matter of moments, so he's squeezing us in. I appreciate that. This is our mistake. Sometimes these things happen. But hopefully he's going to call right now. He is going to call, hopefully, that number that you just gave me, Alex, in a matter of moments. Let us all pray to the MMA gods. Perhaps this is in response to... Okay. This is because I think I know why this happened. And I will address it with him in a matter of seconds here if we get him. Okay, we'll get him on in a couple of seconds here. I have a feeling I know what happened here. Okay, here we go. Alistair, are you there?
Alistair reporting for duty.
I apologize. All of a sudden, you know what my theory is? I think the gods are frowning on me for the whole incident, and this was my punishment. You get what I'm trying to say?
Arrow, it's always something with you.
That is true. Okay, so I know you're very busy. You got to go in 9 minutes, so I'm going to make this short. And congratulations. Wow, I can't imagine what that felt like last night in front of your people. Can you put it into words? Like, what was that moment like? Winning like that in front of your country, this culmination of so many years. Can you even verbalize how it felt after that fight in front of your people?
I can't, to be honest. I mean, the audience was fantastic. I've actually, I've had a number of fights in Holland. I've had a number of fights in that arena. In fact, 12 years ago, I won my first light heavyweight world title there for Tuatano. And I've never enjoyed a crowd as ecstatic and motivating and energetic as last night. So I have no words for it.
I notice is sometimes when you walk to the cage, you like to soak it in. You got a smile on your face. Your hands are up. Yesterday, I noticed that you sort of ran to the cage. You were very, very focused. It felt like a different Alistair. Is that right? Like, did I get that right? Sometimes I see you sort of like taking it all in. But yesterday, that was not the case. You almost sprinted to the cage. Why was that?
Well, I mean, you analyze too much, Ariel. Come on. But the thing was, it was just acting on impulse. I mean, the music went in overdrive, and I didn't feel like walking. The energy in the arena and the crowd was not that relaxed. It was like, let's get this show going on the road, and I just acted on impulse.
That kick that you pulled off in the second round, this is Karate Kid. It's something that you don't see heavyweights do. Did you practice that? Like, is that something that you've been working on for this particular fight?
Yeah, that's true. I've actually been working for it for a while. I mean, and the way I train is, you work on stuff. There's so much stuff that I work on. There's so much more.
And when the right opportunity presents itself, it comes out. And, I don't really think about it. It just happens. And, as this happened, followed with a left hook that connected it, that sent Alaska to the canvas, it's just reacting. I'm not really thinking about it, because when you think you're too slow, I'm just reacting to the situation.
It was beautiful the way you pulled it off. I know you were very happy, and you say you can't put it into words. But on the flip side, did it feel a little strange, once it sunk in because of who he is, your teammate, your coaches on the other side? Like, was it hard to be 100% happy with the moment because of that history between you two and the team?
Maybe a little bit after. I feel a little bit sorry for Andre. I always feel kind of sorry for my opponents. But at the same time, it's a sport. I try to approach this as professional as possible and just be positive about everything.
I love the post-fight interview afterwards. You asked for New York. You asked for the title shot. You said you wanted to come back to Amsterdam as champion. Have you been told by the UFC 100% you're getting the winner of Verdum Miocic?
Yeah, I think I'll get the win. I mean, when you look at the cards, when you look at the numbers, I have the best numbers to challenge for the title. So of course, you don't want to be premature. There's so much things that can get in the way, an injury, anything can happen, right? It's the UFC. So I'm not going to be premature, but I do believe I hold the best cards for. I'm not going to call it the title shot because that's a shot at the title. I'm going to call it title win because we're coming and going to get that belt.
I love it. That is great. Are you hoping it's Verdum because of your history with him or Miocic because it's a fresh matchup?
I don't have a preference. If you ask who I think is going to win,
yes,
I give it 60-40 to Verdum because I fought him twice and he's just a very clever, slick fighter. You easily underestimate him because he's physically not that strong and athletic, but he's sneaky. He's got always an edge up his sleeve, So I expect him to come out with some sort of a surprise. And when you look at Stipe is pretty straightforward what he does. He's good at what he does. He's aggressive. His cardio is good. He's strong. But I think that Verdum is going to outsmart him.
You dropped the latest episode of the Reem the night before the fight, and wow, I didn't realize how much I missed that documentary because it feels like it's been a long time since the last one. And what was so interesting about this one was you talking about your struggles. You actually thought that you were done fighting. You had a very serious back injury. How close to retiring do you think you were?
Well, I wasn't back in 2012.
Yeah.
And I'd hurt my lower back. It was like 6 weeks before the Bigfoot fight. And, of course, the whole world was looking at this fight. The whole world was looking at me. So I didn't want to – you're not going to cancel the fight then, And maybe that would have been a better decision in hindsight 2020. But after the fight was disastrous. After the fight, the physical therapist in the U.S. didn't really know how to treat my back injury. So it forced me to go back to Holland, and there, I had a lot of time to think. Because, of course, your training is a little bit low. Injury is nagging, it's hurting. You can't really do what you want to do. You can't really train, let alone think about the next fight. So, indeed, I was very close to thinking about what I was going to do next in my life.
Wow.
And, this is what a lot of people don't know. Of course, they just see... the 15 or 30 minutes that you're not gone at some interviews before that. Of course, before the fight, I'm not going to say, I've got a back injury and I'm not in a good shape. No fighter ever is going to say that pre-fight. They're always going to say, I feel good, I'm confident. But going into that fight, of course, confidence, I kind of never lacked confidence. But the back injury was real, was lingering. It took me 6 months to recover from it.
Wow.
And right around the Travis fight, I was kind of okay again.
That's amazing. I had no idea, and I feel like I know everything about you. Speaking of which, you remember after your win over Frank Mir, UFC 169, you said that your walkout music was very special to you, and you were going to tell me one day what it meant. Can you tell me now?
Well, I believe it's not that day yet. One day, but not today.
Okay, fair enough. Are you going to go back to Jackson Winklejohn now, or do you think it'll just go back to normal over there?
Yeah, I think so. I have a very good relationship with the coaches. It never went bad. It never went sour. We've always held positive and good communications. We were very open about the whole situation towards each other. And I'll have a couple of weeks here in Holland before I head back. But I'll definitely be going back to Jackson's. I've had a great run now, 4 wins in a row, fighting out of there.
Yeah.
And the team of coaches is great, and we all get along, go along, as well as the fighters. I mean, the gym is stacked with all kinds of fighters, girls, guys, all kinds of weight classes. It's a great energy there, and I can't wait to get back in it.
Have you ever felt like this before as far as your confidence? It feels like you're on a whole other level now, and fighting in front of your people kind of raises you up a little bit. Like, I can't imagine the high that you're on right now. You've had a great career with many highs, but have you ever felt like this, like how you're feeling 24 hours after this fight?
Well, I still need to process it.
Okay.
Because it was just yesterday. And so I can't. I need to sink in a little bit, a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks, and then I realize it more because it's so fresh. I'm still not recovered from all the. You get a lot of impressions on a day like that. But when I look back on it, it was a beautiful evening. Beautiful UFC first event in Holland, and the crowd was ecstatic. They're still talking about. They're going to be talking about this event for a long time to come.
Okay, so that's actually my last question for you, because it seems like there are some markets like UFC 93. They were in Dublin, and then you saw what happened with all the Irish fighters. Do you think that last night was the start of this sort of MMA revolution, where people will talk about Alistair Overeem's win as the reason why they got into MMA and became fighters 5-10 years from now? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that could be the case. I mean, I don't want to make things more big than they are, but I think it's safe to say that most of the country was watching that event. It was the talk of the day. Not only me, but also Stefan Struve and Germaine Durand performed wonderful. And there were Dutch flags all over the place, and I could really feel that nationalistic feel in the stadium and after. So. Definitely, yes. I think there's going to be more fighters, more strikers, K1 guys making the crossover, and this could be the start of a whole new generation of kick-ass strikers from the Netherlands.
I love it. Congratulations, Alistair. Sorry for the delay there, but I really appreciate you coming on, especially before you go on national television. Thank you very much to Iris as well for hooking us up. That means a lot. And by the way, my friend, happy birthday.
She's got your back, man. She's got your back.
She's the best. I love Iris. Oh, wow. You are lucky to have her. Happy birthday to you, my friend. 8 days away, right? I'll never forget it. On this show, we celebrated moons ago.
Yes, you remember.
Of course.
I'm impressed.
Alistair, for me, you mean the world.
You remember something else.
Yes, when you win the title, it's coming, my friend. Much love, Alistair.
Okay.
Thank you. Congratulations. Are we good? Yes? I don't know if you're still there. Did he hang up? Okay. Oh, you gotta love Alistair. A beautiful thing. Thank you very much. Oh, there's Marc. How about that? Thank you very much to Iris. Iris is the best. She works with Alistair, and she made that happen. For some reason, Marc, you can appreciate this as we now transition to Marc, who's just towering over me. All of a sudden, the phones here they just stopped working internationally. So that was great timing with Alistair waiting before he went on national television in Holland. But we got it done because of Iris, so I appreciate her very much. Do you get what I'm saying, though? Don't you get you kind of have the feeling when they go to these European markets for the first time, like, and they're not all going to be like Dublin, but you do feel like yesterday was kind of special. Like when they go to these markets for the first time and they put these local fighters, they always end up winning. Remember Scotland last summer? They all won. Yeah, same thing. It's weird, right?
Yeah, Whiteford stands out to me from Scotland. That was an amazing fight, amazing victory. The fans went insane. And the same thing with, Durandami yesterday. Wow. Beautiful. Insane. That crowd was lit for her.
Lit. Look at you.
Lit.
Okay, so we have like 15, 20 minutes to answer some questions here. You've been playing the role of New York Rick, who, by the way, I've just been told is extending his 48th honeymoon. He's having such a great time tweeting away in Hawaii that he's just going to keep going. I mean, he just says, why not now? You know, like we've done 30 honeymoons, let's go for 48. So I don't know if he's ever coming back, but Chuck filled in admirably. Let's see. You've done this before. What are the people talking about? You got any questions for me?
I got a few questions. For you. I picked some up from the comments section of our wonderful website, the non-spam comments.
Yes.
First one comes from Lamont18. If both Miesha Tate and Holly Holm win their fights announced for July, who would you rather see Ronda fight in her return? And which of those two fights would you think sells more?
Okay. It's Ronda Holly, and by the way, I appreciate you mentioning the person who asked the question. This is something that Chuck, while he filled in very well, failed to do last week. So it's very kind of you to give.
Don't kill the man in the hat. Don't take a shot. He's not even here to defend himself. That's low.
Title shot. Listen. Do you want me to kick you off this show? I'll do it in a second, okay? Title on the line or not, Holly versus Ronda is the fight that I want to see. There are still some people who say to me they don't believe Ronda is coming back. Now, this is just like sort of pie in the sky, them, hypothesizing, but I don't think she has told anyone 100,000% that she is coming back in November. But if she is, Holly versus Ronda is the fight that I want to see, and it's the fight that I think sells the most. Title on the line or not. Do you disagree?
I don't disagree. I totally agree with you, but I don't think there is a wrong answer.
No.
In this case, I think that either way, it's a big fight. I don't know how much Ronda Holly definitely sells more. I don't think there's any debate over that because even it won't be for a title. It doesn't matter. I don't think anyone really. I mean, the people who watch that fight and who know Ronda Rousey, the casual fans, the title really is very much insignificant. All they know is that Ronda Rousey, the unstoppable force, got knocked out by this woman named Holly Holm, and they've wanted to see the rematch since the end of that fight. So yes, for that reason, there's no doubt in my mind that's the fight that sells more.
By the way, what do you make of this Paige Van Zandt, Ronda Rousey, quote unquote, shocking incident? What do you make of it? Come on, Marc. I know you love that stuff.
I mean, if you were to tell me that a fighter got upset by someone picking against them, I would not be surprised by that because I know fighters they do not like when people pick against them in a fight. This was a little bit different. This was, I guess, Paige congratulating Holly Holm for the win. Man, I don't know. I know fighters are sensitive about that kind of stuff, and I'm sure that isn't the first time this has happened in this space. So I'll wait to hear Rousey's side of the story before I opine on that.
Fair enough. Look at you. Very, very diplomatic. By the way, did you hear the Gilbert Melendez interview earlier?
I did not hear it.
What are you doing over there? You got nothing to do.
I was working on a Scott Coker piece from the MMA Hour.
Okay, fair enough. Now I can't hate on you. I was just saying, I know you're a Mets fan. Anyway, I was comparing it to the Andy Pettitte situation, who came out when
I did hear that. I heard that.
You didn't hear what he had to say, so I know you can't 100% weigh in on it. Right. But he came out and just said, "I'm sorry, I messed up." It doesn't excuse what he did, but it does change the way I sort of feel about him now, right? I mean, instead of just making up, you get what I'm saying?
What you said about the Andy Pettitte thing has always been in the traditional sports realm. That's always been like the formula for how fans perceive an athlete after they test positive. If you come out and say, "Hey, I'm sorry, I messed up. It won't happen again," in most cases, that kind of thing is forgotten about, almost not completely, but it's not as bad as someone like Rafael Palmeiro, who still to this day, even after being in front of Congress, has been adamant that he never took anything. So yeah, I think when you look at both guys' careers, Andy Pettitte and Rafael Palmeiro is a guy that was like a Hall of Fame quality player, but he'll always have that black mark on him. Meanwhile, Pettitte, because he was so forthright and because he apologized, he's still revered, by fans.
Yes, I agree. So I give him respect for doing that. I think
definitely.
Yeah. All right. Okay. What else you got?
All right. From the James Glory, Cyborg is coming. How excited are you about Chris Cyborg finally coming to the UFC? What happens next if she is victorious against Leslie Smith? Does she jump from Invicta to the UFC, back to Invicta, back to the UFC? Or is this just a one-time thing in the UFC? What do you think?
It should be from here on out, her fighting in the UFC. The UFC, and I know you appreciate this, is starting to loosen up the collar a little bit and just saying, look, we want fun fights. Joanne Calderwood versus Valerie Letourneau. Cyborg can't make 145 or 135, I should say. We don't have a 145 division. Let's have her fight at 140. There will be a long list of people who want to fight her, including the champion, Miesha Tate. This is the way to go, and I'm happy they finally came to their senses on this.
I completely agree. Although I will say this, I will say that I don't know how many fights per year the UFC is going to give Cyborg, because she will be treated as a special attraction. There will not be a 145-pound division. I'm almost positive of that. So I would not object to her in that meantime going down to Invicta and defending the title. It's not that big of a deal. She's still under Zuffa contract. There's still that strong bond from a business side between UFC and Invicta. So if the UFC is only going to be able to give Cyborg one fight or two fights a year, there's no harm in her going back to Invicta and defending that 145-pound title once or twice.
So they pay her.
Let her make as much money as she possibly can.
Yeah, but the UFC's not making any money off of that. And I know
that's not true, because
Invicta's on Fight Pass.
It still keeps her active. It helps. Exactly, they're on Fight Pass.
Nah.
It keeps her in the public eye to have her come back and fight again for the UFC.
Have her fight 3 times in the UFC. Have her fight 3 times in the UFC. There's no one for her to fight at 145 in Invicta.
Who are the opponents, though? You know, do the opponents matter? I mean, I know someone like Jermaine Dirandami would be a fantastic second fight for her if she were to beat Leslie Smith next week or this week coming up.
Yeah, so why not do it?
Sure. I'm down. I'm just saying if the UFC can't give her more than a fight or 2 fights a year, I have no problem with her going back down to Invicta, defending the title there and staying active, just for her sake, so she can make as much money as she can. She's getting paid the UFC paycheck either way.
Sure. Although I think they want to capitalize off of it, and they don't. I know it's on Fight Pass, but it's not the same. I feel like Invicta's in this weird spot when it comes to these situations. Like Angela Hill winning the belt is kind of a good thing because people know who she is, but I actually think it's kind of a bad thing for Invicta because Souza was she was a non-UFC cast-off, if you will. And you know what I mean? Like this sort of feels like, okay, someone who couldn't hang in the UFC is now going down to win the belt. You know, I don't know. It's they can't shed this sort of minor league label that they have on them now because the UFC took all their good fighters at 115 and 135 to a degree.
Well, I do think it's unfair to say that Angela Hill couldn't hang in the UFC.
No. Just because they got cut. Just because she got cut. That's the perception.
Yeah, I mean, yes, she did get cut after losing to Rose Namajunas and Tisha Torres. You know, wow. So,
but that's the perception.
Sure, I do agree with you to a degree, but on the other hand, Angela Hill is someone who's very marketable, in my opinion, and who Invicta can kind of build around in a sense. She's someone that people like and people follow on social media, and she has that great personality.
Yes,
I think it was ultimately a win-win for them.
Fair enough. I do think the UFC sort of botched Angela Hill. I thought they pushed her too fast. Yeah. I mean, Rose, Tisha,
sure,
Carla in The Ultimate Fighter.
Well, that was
yes.
The Ultimate Fighter because it was a seeded thing, and that was, I mean, if you want to do the number 1 seed against the number 16 seed, yes, that is the fight because Esparza was the Invicta champion. Hill was the least known and the least experienced, so that did make sense in that case.
It is,
but then to have her fight Rose and Tisha, you know, after beating Emily Kagan and not giving her like another chance to beat someone maybe not in the top 15 or someone at the bottom of the top 15 was unfair.
Okay, what else you got?
Speaking of Invicta, thoughts on Tanya Evinger puking after her title victory and then kissing Laura Sanko. This comes from Ed Bears from MMAfighting.com's comment section.
I saw some people like upset about this, saying that if a man did this, it would be considered assault. But the comparison is off because it would have to be like if Ben Rothwell kissed John Anik. That's the comparison, right? It's not if Ben Rothwell kissed Laura Sanko. Obviously, that's inappropriate. If Ben Rothwell kissed John Anik, no one would call that assault. They would say it's funny, the same way I thought this was funny. I was not offended by this at all. It's crazy.
I had mixed feelings about the whole thing when it happened. I didn't know what to really think. I mean, I was like, kind of stunned by the situation. I compared it to Joe Namath. Do you remember that?
Of course.
When,
Susie Colbert.
Susie Colbert was interviewing a few years ago, and Joe Namath was he just seemed so drunk and out of it. And he said during the interview, "I want to kiss you." And he kind of like leaned in, kissed Susie Colbert. So awkward. This was not as awkward. It was kind of funny, but it was funny, but I didn't know what to think. But I will say one thing. On the broadcast, Julie Kedzie, the UFC Invicta matchmaker and color commentator, for a spur of the moment thing, she could not have handled it any better. She said, "Fighters, don't do this. Just don't do it. They're friends.
Yes.
Just don't do it." And that's the best way she could have handled it, because there really was nothing else to say. I mean, it was perfect.
I think Laura Sanko is great at her job, and she brings something different to that position because she has fought before. In fact, I have told the good people over at Fox and UFC in the past that they should actually consider hiring her for that position. I think she does a fantastic job as the sort of backstage reporter. I don't know about in cage because they use Rogan and Anik to do that, but I think that they should seriously look at her for that, and especially there's that synergy now with Fight Pass. I will make one distinction, though, between the Colbert incident and this one. Colbert backed off. I mean, it did seem like Sanko open mouth there for a second. Was it not evident that she did that? That was a little. Am I wrong here? No. I thought she opened mouth there.
I got nothing.
It was very strange, but she's great. And they posted pictures afterwards. They were hugging. They're friends. Relax, everyone. Don't get so offended.
They are friends. They both have roots in the Kansas City area, and they've known each other for a long time. So
there you go. What else you got?
Yeah. From SN Styles, fighting teammates. Should fighters be forced to fight with their teammates or friends? In what cases should that be the case? Additionally, if teammates are expected to fight at some point, wouldn't that create issues for them to share all their techniques and knowledge during training camp?
Well, the Overeem Marlovsky thing was certainly awkward for all. Some of the coaches who weren't there even told me that they went to watch a movie yesterday. They just wanted no part of it. And I know Greg Jackson hated it and was happy when it was all over. I don't think the UFC can ever force anyone to fight anyone. Maybe it gets a little interesting when you're the champion and there's a number one contender and you have to make it happen. But in the history of the UFC, you haven't really seen situations like this. That's why I was kind of surprised more wasn't made of it. Yeah, Arlovsky and Overeem aren't longtime best friends, but I mean, they were both training at the same gym for the fight. Crazy. So I don't think, look, if I'm a guy who, like Fitch and Koscheck, that was a little different. These guys came up together. They were part of the gym. They want to know part of it. But most fighters have said, if it's for the belt and if it's for a lot of money, I'll do it. Otherwise, I'm not that interested. And I can't say I disagree.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. And to that point, it's happened a few times in the history of MMA where teammates have fought each other, but how many times have they trained at the same gym?
Bizarre.
At their training camp in the same place for that fight? That's a very rare thing. I think I agree. I don't think this is something that, if fighters don't want to do it, they shouldn't have to do it. I mean, if they want to do it, they can do it. I mean, I think it's really up to them. I think it's a case-by-case basis every single time. I don't think there's any hard and fast rule for this kind of thing. I really think it's just up to, every situation is different. Every training camp is different. Every fighter is different. So I think that's how it goes. I think that there have been cases in the past where people would go back and change what they did. I think Rashad Evans is one of those guys. I think Rashad wishes things happened differently between him and John Jones.
Yes.
I've talked to him about this in the past, and not saying that he would do things differently 100%, but he just wishes things had been different, and maybe he does wish that he had said something different or he had done something different. But I think that those are actually those are the cases in a lot of cases like this where it's not something that guys want to do. They shouldn't have to do it.
Best fight on the 198 card.
Best fight on the 198 card. Well, I actually have a question about a good fight on a 198 card. If you want to,
I want your answer. What's the best fight? What's the fight you're most looking forward to?
Best. Well, when you say, the fight, okay, because those are two different things.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, give me both answers.
Okay, so I personally, I actually might be looking forward to the Cyborg fight against Leslie Smith, because I think that
I get it.
Cyborg coming into the UFC is the first time. This is the fight that she really wanted. It's in her hometown. Leslie Smith is someone that, you can never count her out. I mean, there may not be a tougher person than Leslie Smith. She had her ear almost torn off in a fight and wanted to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
We saw it that night in Mexico City, how bad it was. It was really bad.
That was before you joined the good team.
That was on the cusp of me coming to MMA fighting. So yeah, I think I'm excited for that fight because Leslie Smith is not going to back down. That's going to be a war. That's going to be a battle. As far as the best fight, I still have to say it's the main event. It's the heavyweight fight. I think that's a great fight. It's certainly the most relevant fight. So I think that's the best fight. Verdun Miocic is a very, very high level, good heavyweight fight.
It does really feel like it's like Brazil versus the world. That's another fun thing about this card. And it's not just like any Brazil fighters versus the world. It's the freaking legends, you know. It's Anderson Silva, it's Verdun. Mm-hmm. It's kind of weird the Jacare Belfort fight is on this one because that feels like civil war among all this other stuff. But that's a great fight as well. What was the question you wanted to ask about 198?
It was actually a question about another fight that you did not mention. Anderson Silva versus Uriah Hall. What do you make about this matchup? For me, it doesn't sound like a smart move by Anderson's manager. And I don't mean it fight-wise, even though I find Uriah Hall way too dangerous for this elusive Anderson Silva style.
Well, I love this fight.
Skills that kills. Well, basically asking what's the take, from a business perspective, from both sides. Is it a smart fight for Anderson Silva to take?
Yeah, well, it gets him on the Curitiba card. He's lost. He hasn't won in a while. He's coming off a loss. I know it was a close one. Take a little step down. He's getting older. Stylistically, it's fun. Hall has always, aspired. He's called him his idol and things like that. Big aspirations coming off The Ultimate Fighter, and he's had his ups and downs. I love that they're doing this. It's not Shogun Rua versus Corey Anderson because that feels like, I don't know. It almost feels like we're approaching the end of the road for Shogun, and Corey hasn't quite. Corey's doing well in the UFC, but he hasn't had his moments like Uriah. I don't know if I'm even verbalizing this the right way, but Joe Silva likes to make fights sometimes, older guys versus younger guys to prop up the younger guy. I don't actually think this is the case with this fight. I just think it's just a great fight on paper. It gets Anderson on the card on relatively short notice. Uriah Hall gets to fight a guy that he's emulated and looked up to. What's not to like? I don't get it.
Well, I could see how it could be a dangerous fight from Silva's perspective because Uriah Hall is not. I mean, if you look at everyone that Silva has faced in the past X amount of years, they've all been headline guys, well-known names. Uriah Hall is not quite at that level. He's never headlined in anything in his life. But to that point, he's never headlined. He's not as popular, but he's extremely, extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
So I think in that case, I could see why people would think that it could be a dangerous fight for Silva. I think it's a dangerous fight for Silva, but I think that's why I like it. I think that it is a dangerous fight, and I think it's just really cool. Like, who the hell knows what's going to happen in that fight? I can't even predict. Uriah Hall is one of those guys where you just never know. I mean, the way that he knocked out Gegard Mousasi after getting completely dominated in the first round comes back with like a video game, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat finish. Anderson Silva is a guy that has highlights like that in his career. This fight could potentially be like just ridiculous, and I think it's just a fun fight. I think it's just fun. It doesn't matter who wins. To me, it doesn't matter who wins. Doesn't matter who loses. I think it matters who
loses. If Anderson Silva loses to Uriah Hall, especially in spectacular fashion, now we know where Anderson is at. We know his ceiling at this point. So this is actually it's a litmus test. Can Uriah get over the hump on a big stage? Will the mental side of the game? He's going to be fighting in front of 45,000 people who are all going against him. So I love this fight. I love everything about this card. Really do.
It's great.
Marc, you did a great job. I'm sorry to cut it short, but we got to go. We go from one of the shortest people I know to one of the tallest people I know. How about that? How about that? Actually, someone asked me a great question here before we go. Who comes back first, George St. Pierre or New York Rick? Right now, I'm siding with GSP. But if he doesn't come back, we'll come back to you, Marc. I appreciate it very much. Thank you for stopping by. And in all honesty, great to hear that you're feeling better, my man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Okay, there he is. Marc Raimondi stopping by, asking us some questions. Let's move along now to a man who had a great night last night in Rotterdam. Fantastic win against Bigfoot Silva. Kind enough to join us right now. Stefan Struve on the line. Stefan, how are you?
I'm doing great. Of course, after that amazing night last night, not just the win, but the entire atmosphere in the arena. it was just a perfect night.
Does it almost, here we are, almost exactly 24 hours later, does it still kind of, does it feel like a dream? Like this didn't really happen to win like that in front of your home country? Does it feel that way? Like it's not real?
To be honest with you, not really. The entire atmosphere, that's still I'm still trying to figure out what that all, what everything was that happened. That was incredible. The knockout, I felt it coming. I felt so good in the locker room. This training camp was absolutely amazing. The trainers asked for a lot more aggression, and that was there this entire training camp. And I felt so good warming up, and I knew it was going to happen. And then you get a reception like that from the crowd that just makes it complete. Absolutely amazing.
It seemed like people had high expectations for this card, but not quite that high. Like they didn't think that the crowd would be that enthusiastic, that crazy. It seemed like a fantastic, one of the best in recent UFCs. Were you expecting that from your people?
Dutch crowds are difficult. You never know what you get. This was absolutely amazing. The chants, the way the arena exploded when the Dutch fighters won, our walkouts. Everything, they were just part of my win is thanks to them for sure. I felt so great. It was absolutely amazing.
That's interesting that you say. I was just going to ask you, do you feel like they actually raised your performance? Like they made you into a better fighter yesterday?
They definitely, I was in the locker room and I was watching Jermaine fighting, and I heard the crowd going crazy and everything, and at that point, I was like, it's impossible to lose. In 30 minutes, you're going to be there, and your hands are going to be raised. It's impossible to lose. Just, go out there, and you'll get this as your reward. And I got it. So
amazing. Beautiful. Couldn't be happier for you considering everything you have been through. And you talked about that afterwards, the past 3 years. Certainly one night, 16 seconds doesn't erase all of that. But you kind of feel like now it all starts over again, like your career, this is the beginning of that next chapter. Finally, you can kind of move on. Does it feel like that at all?
For me, I already found that in this training camp.
Okay.
I was trying to refine myself in the gym, and I really did that this training camp. And if you have a great training camp, it's going to translate to the fight, and that's what happened. And of course, you need to get the result, and everybody saw the emotion after it was gone. And it's not even winning the fight with Bigfoot. Of course, that will bring some emotion up too. But just leaving those years behind me and finally getting the finish again after my last finish win against Stipe Miocic, I was really looking for a big win like this. And then when it finally happens, a lot of emotions come out.
What was different about this training camp? What changed?
You know what I just said. The trainers wanted to see a lot more aggression because in the last 2 training camps I was doing my thing, but when I would have guys up against the wall or in a bad spot, I wouldn't really follow up and finish. I was too nice, and this training camp I wasn't nice.
Oh.
So
wow.
I think that's a big difference. I've been with the Brazilians for about 15 months now, and of course you make the switch. And you cannot expect to see immediate results when you switch gym. It takes a little while to implement the things you get from your trainers, and it takes probably for me, I think it will be a year or something like that before you really see a big difference. And I've been with them for 15 months now, and they're even in this short of a fight, I saw a couple things that I really liked and that we really worked on a lot. So, that's just great.
You seemed bigger than usual, more muscular, like your body's really filling out. Is that accurate? Do you feel that way?
Yeah, for sure. I walk around at 280 now,
wow.
And I'm watching my diet really good because I don't want to blow up and lose speed or be losing cardio because my cardio is absolutely great right now. I'm 28 now. Everybody has seen me fight when I was very young, especially for a heavyweight. And I'm finally starting to really, turn into the force everybody's always been talking about. And I see and I know what I can do. I show that every single day in the gym now. And I just can't wait to put together a streak now. I think everybody will forget about the Rochelle fight like this. In my opinion, that was a fight I really gave away. It should have been three wins in a row right now, and I would have been way up higher in the rankings then. But I know what I can do. I got trainers who believe in me. I got a team around me who believe in me. And that's all I need. The results will follow.
Yeah, I remember seeing you at that fight and after that fight, and obviously you were frustrated and disappointed. Have you ever felt like that? I mean, that fight just felt like it never got going. It was just, it was.
Yeah, I had a bad night. I just didn't feel the fight, and then he didn't really want to fight, which you can't blame him for. He just wanted to wrestle and run, and it just made for a really bad fight. In my opinion, I didn't do enough. Absolutely, I don't want to blame it on anybody else. It was just a horrible fight from my side, but it also showed me that I had a lot to work on for my wrestling. He took advantage of that, and I'm working so hard and filling in all those holes right now with the black zones. I just can't wait to see what's next and put together a streak again. So.
That 16-second fight, there's so much happened there with him rushing you and the short right, I believe it was, and some uppercuts, then the knee to the solar plexus, then the elbows. At what point did you know you had him?
I felt the right hand connected perfectly, and that's one of the drills we do so much in the gym.
Wow.
It's the 1-2. Sorry?
No, I just said, wow, that's great.
Yeah, no, it's a 1-2 followed up by an uppercut and then a knee. And this was a 1-2 followed by 2 uppercuts and a knee.
Wow.
And you finish from there. You see where he ends, and you work from there. What I really liked also is then when he fell against me, he went down for my legs. I sprawled on him, and that's why my butt didn't get on the floor. I got on my knees and got in a perfect position to elbow, and that was the fight. So there were even in that 16-second fight, there were so many good things for me to pick out. So that's just a great feeling. The only thing is, because it was such a short fight, I feel like I maybe wanted to show more of what I did in the gym.
Yeah.
More of my distance, my jab, and my teep. But, more opportunities will come for that. So
that was actually my next question. Is it hard, like after when you're in a 15-minute fight or a 10-minute fight, you're obviously exhausted. Here, it was 16 seconds. When you go back to the locker room, there's so much emotion and adrenaline. How do you come down from that? Because you didn't get that release because the fight was so short. Was it hard to come down?
Yeah, for sure. I tried to get some of that adrenaline out directly after by yelling and screaming and hitting the mat a little bit, but I barely slept tonight. I was really tired, after fight week because you're so focused. It takes a lot of energy, but it took me about 6 hours to fall asleep, and I fell asleep at like 5 or 6 in the morning, and I woke up at 8.
Wow.
Not a good night of sleep because of the adrenaline probably, but I'll sleep great tonight.
Yeah, of course, and it's a good problem because you're happy because of the win. Do you feel, and I know this is a tough question, but he's taken some big shots. How do you feel about him continuing to fight? He said he wants to keep fighting. Do you feel like the chin has gone away? Do you think it's better for him to not fight? What can you say about that?
I think that's his decision to take.
Yeah.
This is the heavyweight division of the UFC, and I've heard those things. I got those questions too in the past. I got a couple knockout losses. I think people. Of course, you need to think about it when you get, knocked out in 4 of your last 5 fights. But I think people make too big of a deal out of knockouts now and then, because with the small gloves and especially in the heavyweight division, if you get clipped, you go down, and there's a referee for the fighter's safety. Mm-hmm. There's fighters in Holland who fight every week or every 2 weeks and get 8 counts here and there, and they continue to fight, and they're all doing fine, And I'm not saying that it's a great thing for you, no, but we're fighters, and Bigfoot is a fighter, and he chose his profession, and it's not always sunshine, And I really know that from the last few years. It's his decision to make, and I think that nobody else should, have any take in that. Of course, his camp should advise him and think with him, but it's his decision.
Fair enough, and I respect that. What's it like for you, Stefan, to sort of come to terms with the fact that in 5 days, Stipe Miocic might be the heavyweight champion? You gave him a loss, and this guy could be the champ. Like, does that give you motivation? Does that let you know that, yeah, you may have had ups and downs, but you beat this guy not that long ago? How do you feel about the whole scenario, and will you be watching as well?
I'll be watching. Stipe is a great fighter, a great person, and I think he's going to win. I think he's got the skills. I think he's going to get the belt. And, it's not too long ago that I beat him. And for me, everything kind of fell apart after that fight. But everybody knows I had a really serious issue to deal with at that point. So it was very hard to perform to my fullest, especially in the fight after that against Marc, where my heart issue was at its worst. So I know why I didn't perform in the fights after that, and especially coming back. That was so hard to really fully come back mentally. At times I just wanted to quit, but I told myself to go through and bite through, and I knew the moment that was yesterday was going to come. And now it was here, and it all paid off to just keep going and keep going.
Were any of your family members at the fight yesterday?
Yeah, my mom and my brother and my girlfriend and her mother were front row.
Wow.
So that was absolutely great. And my mother obviously was very emotional after the fight, and she called it the best Mother's Day gift.
Yeah.
The son could ever give. So that was absolutely amazing.
I can't imagine what it was like. Is Mother's Day a big thing over there in Holland?
Yeah.
Wow.
We do it all the time. I didn't really have time to do much other than give her a knockout win yesterday, but I made sure to take her out for dinner today. So
that's great, very memorable. Two last things I want to ask you about. Have you even started to think, or do you have an idea as to who you'd like to fight next? Do you have a timeline? What are you thinking right now? I know it's fresh, but anything comes to mind?
Yeah. A couple good fights in the heavyweight division are coming up. For me, I need to get my hand looked at right now so I can start looking at guys. But I have had some issues with my right hand for the last year. Okay. Every single fight, after the fight, it's used, it swells up. There's something wrong. I don't think it's a big thing, but it needs to get fixed. Because now I knocked him out in 16 seconds, but the way my hand is looking right now, if the fight would have gone longer, it could have given me trouble.
Oh, wow.
So I need to get that fixed.
Okay.
And, we'll see what happens in the division. And I'll make sure that in a couple months I'll be ready to go and get another win.
And finally, I really have to give you a lot of credit for what you said about your teammate and friend Jordan Parsons and wearing the band. Really says a lot about you that you were doing that. To find out that news the week of the fight with everything going on in your mind. I mean, how did you deal with it all? How are you able to keep focus? And I know you probably wanted to be back in Florida with your teammates. And I mean, it's a horrendous tragedy. I don't even know what to say. And it seemed like, and you can speak on this, he seemed like such an amazing person just going through his social media, how positive he was. How are you able to remain focused on the fight?
It was a roller coaster, man. I flew out on Friday. And then on Sunday, I got the news that he got hit by a car, and I didn't get a ton of info, so I didn't know at that point how bad it was. And they told me that they had to amputate his leg, and that's horrible. But there's life after fighting. So if I would have to make the choice between passing away or getting my leg amputated, there's more things
right
than fighting, and it would be horrible, but and. It got worse and worse, as the days went by. And, I tell myself, try not to think about it too much because you need to do your job. And you just trained to win this fight for about 4 months. So you cannot have this influence your performance, And I was thinking if I could do something. And, then my wrestling coach, Greg Jones, flew in and we were talking, and we decided to pay a tribute tribute to him this way. And I think everybody appreciated that, and I heard his mother. I really appreciated that. So I'm happy I was able to do something like that for him, because he really was an amazing person. Just great energy every day, man. I still can't believe it. I live a little further from the gym than most guys. He lives in a house pretty close to the gym, and I would see him walk to the gym every morning. And it's going to be so weird to go to Florida, drive to the gym, and not see him there. I just can't imagine that, So.
Well, again, my condolences to you and the team. Just a horrible thing, and there's nothing more to say. But I thought what you did was really kind. So I'm sure his family appreciated that. Stefan, thank you very much for the time. I know it's hectic there, so and late as well. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. And again, congratulations. A beautiful moment for you and your family and your country. It was great to watch, and I hope that you're able to enjoy it. And looking forward to your next fight.
For sure, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
Pleasure as always. There he is, Stefan Struve, stopping by. Fantastic win over Bigfoot Silva. 16-second win. I think initially they said 15 seconds. 16 seconds is the official time. What does it matter? You can't script it better than that for Stefan Struve. After the passing of his father, the issue with his heart, the ups and downs. I mean, this man has been through a hell of a lot over the last 3 years, really dating back to that fight against Stipe Miocic. And now here he is coming off that win, and 5 days from now, Miocic can be the UFC heavyweight champion. It's amazing how things turn out. And if that happens, what do you make of Stefan Struve? Interesting times. Okay, final guest. We got one more guest to go today on a jam-packed show. It's been a lot of fun. And, there's often a lot of crazy things happening in the world of MMA. There's highs and lows. There's ups and downs. It's a roller coaster. But one constant is the positivity that just oozes out of Roxanne Modaferri. I mean, this person, if you've ever met her at any point, at any juncture, she's the exact same. Always positive, always a ray of sunshine, always a joy to be around. And I thought it would just be nice to end today's show with a little Roxanne, because you can never have enough Roxanne Modaferri in your life. And there she is, the one and only Roxanne Modaferri. How are you, Roxanne?
Hi, Ariel. I'm great. Thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, it is a pleasure as always. Where are you right now?
I am at Syndicate. I just finished training, and I'm using my selfie stick on my phone on Skype.
Wow.
Because I really want to talk to you.
Yes, I think this is a first. Okay, so we have a lot.
First.
Yes, the selfie stick, I think, is definitely a first for us. Okay, so a lot going on in your life, as always, Roxanne, but this is what I wanted to start off with. You have written a book, another book.
I have it
there
right
it is.
here.
Yes, How to Be Positive. I have a book as well, although I'm so dumb I forgot it at home, but I did buy it. You know this, and I asked for your autograph in it as well. But I forgot it at home.
Thank you very much.
It's great, and you see the picture right there. We have the cover on the show if you're watching it. It's called How to Be Positive: Mental Training by Roxanne Modaferri, the Happy Warrior. I do have your fan right over here. You see it right there. There it is. Okay. How to be positive. I mean, how can you write, like, how do you write a book on that? Where did this come from? Why did you write this book? Explain to us.
Well, I really embraced my nickname of the Happy Warrior, and I always try to think of something positive. I always try to turn, everything around to be positive, no matter what it is. And I was thinking, finally, like, how do I do that? I've learned so much from my mom. She has all these little phrases that she uses. So I thought it would be cool to organize the way I do that into a book. So I made 10 chapters, and I made each chapter having one theme. To read them really quick. Chapter 1, our thoughts affect our emotions. Chapter 2, a sliver of moonlight you can still see. Chapter 3, be grateful. Chapter 4, focus on the silver lining. Chapter 5, don't reinforce negativity, smile and carry on. Chapter 6, do the most you can in your situation, set goals. Chapter 7, be excited about everything. Chapter 8, try to understand other people. Chapter 9, rules for behavior. And Chapter 10, readjust your expectations. So I give an explanation about these themes, and then I give examples like, this bad thing happened. Now use this key phrase and try to turn it around and I ask the readers to give an example. So
Wow.
it kind of makes the reader, use their brain and think about these. So it's kind of like training your mind to be positive.
So
that's what I've been doing.
So I've known you for quite some time. You've always been this way. You're very consistent. You practice what you preach, but why write the book? Like, what prompted you to say, you know what, I want to put this out there for other people?
In part of embracing the happy warrior, one thing I really love about kind of being a public figure is that people hear me and people hear my words and listen to me. And I feel like it's part of my mission in life to spread positivity to everybody who can listen. So what better way than write a book and really help people think more positively?
Have you always been this way? Was there ever a time when Roxanne Modaferri was like like this dark and disturbed devil worshiper? Like, did you ever have that period, or were you always like this?
Well, I did enter a phase where I liked to read horror books when I was a teenager, but I think I've always been positive.
Not quite what I had in mind. Where does that come from? Was that your mom? Was that your upbringing? Why have you always been positive? Because I'm not a very positive person all the time. I'm working on it, to be honest. And your book has helped me with some of those things.
Oh, thank you.
Yes,
I'm so
it's great. But how are you?
Yeah, it's my mom.
It's your mom. Wow.
I think my mom, every time I complained about something or I said, oh, this happened, blah, 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 my mom always said some positive thing. She always was like, well, at least, or, well, the bright side is, or something. So she always countered some negative thing I said with a positive thing. Always.
Okay, but what's your kryptonite, though? Like, is there ever anything that really pisses you off, like where the mean Roxanne comes out? Is there something out there that really gets under your skin?
Yes.
What?
When people sing the Roxanne song by the Police.
Wow, that's it?
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that, but that.
Oh my gosh!
And,
now I really want to sing it.
And I probably won't talk to you again then if you do. But,
Okay.
And then, crap, what was the other one? Forgot.
You forgot.
Another one.
It must really bother you.
Yeah.
So when someone sings that song, how mad do you actually get?
Really mad.
Really? Jeez. That's crazy.
Well, I don't know, like, come on, it's about a prostitute. It's not like,
yeah.
I'm not that person.
Did your parents, were you named after, like, it's a very famous song. Any relation between the song and the name?
Well, no. So my mom was worried about people teasing me about that song, but Roxanne is also a famous name in the fact that the famous play Cyrano de Bergerac, she was the heroine that the guy was in love with, so he wrote her poetry. Also, the wife of Alexander the Great, his name was Roxanne.
Oh, yes.
So there's other famous, positive Roxanne people, but
so
I like the name in general.
When you were a kid, like, people say this to you, would you just beat them up? Like, would you just unleash hell?
I would glare at them and then walk away.
Oh,
pretty
my.
much the same as now.
Damn. All right. That is very interesting. I did not know that about you. So what kind of feedback are you getting for the book? Because this has nothing to do with your career, right? You wrote a book about your career, but this is really like a self-help book. Are you getting good feedback?
I am. I wish that I had more of like distribution, like let people know more about it, I'm pretty much just advertising it on my Facebook and Twitter. But yeah, I've gotten really good feedback. A lot of people have, commented that it's helped them. And, that's what I really want. I want people to be out in the street and then something pisses them off. And then they think like, all right, well, I should think of it this way, like that book I was reading.
Yes.
That would be really cool to me. That's like my goal for that.
Well, let me tell people where they can get the book. It's Roxanne Modaferri, 2 F's, 1 R, MODAFFERI.net.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you go there, it's very easy to find the book. I won't give the entire address. If you want the entire address, here it is, /r site, R, the letter R site, /NODE/8. But if you just go to your website, you can find it. You know what I was happy to see? I was happy to see that you're still keeping up with that blog of yours. I feel like you've had that blog since like the MySpace days, and it still looks the same.
I did.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I love it. It's fun.
It's very detailed, by the way. I don't know if you've noticed this, but your blog is very detailed. It's really like a blow-by-blow of each and every day. You did get pissed off at a lady who tried to rent you the wrong kind of van. You just moved recently, so I got to see. I was like, wow, we're really getting into this. Roxanne got mad at someone. It looked like you wanted to throw down.
I really did. It was totally unfair. I was really mad, and a lot of things are stressing me out. So I have a breaking point for sure.
Well, I suggest reading that blog and then getting the book. If you like me are a glass half empty kind of person, this can help you very much. Now let's talk about your career. You're at Syndicate. You've been doing great as of late. You've won 4 of 5, 2 in a row. You were asking for the title shot after your last win. Are you going to get it?
I hope so. I'm not allowed to say anything yet. I'm in talks with Invicta. Very exciting news should be coming up soon, so stay tuned.
Oh.
Yes.
Wow. When would you like to fight again?
As soon as possible. Hopefully the next event.
Okay. How do you feel about the state of that division in Invicta? Because where's Barb Honchak these days? Are they going to just make it a real title, an interim title? Where is she? Do you have any idea?
I have no idea, and she's not active on social media, so I can't social media stalk her as I can most of my other opponents.
Oh, do you do that? Are you that kind of fighter?
Well, I like social media, and I can where is this person today? Let's check Facebook.
Yes, that is interesting.
Yeah, I don't know Barb Honchak.
So if you do fight for the belt, will it be the interim belt or the real belt?
That remains to be seen.
All right.
I'm guessing probably the interim because, no one said anything about Barb Honchak, although I really want to fight her simply for the fact that, I want to fight her. She beat me before, so I want to prove to the world that I can win.
So like I said,
whatever.
So you're in Vegas.
The state of the division is awesome.
It is awesome.
There's so many tough people, really smoking, so
yeah,
it's fun.
But it does feel like without the champion being there, it's kind of stagnated a little bit, no?
I personally see Jennifer Maia as the champion.
Okay.
I mean, Barb Honchak hasn't fought in like a year and a half.
Yeah.
So she should pretty much. I'm gonna just not say anything about that.
Fair enough.
I think whoever has the belt is the champion.
I can see that feistiness coming out. Does a part of you, considering how good you're doing now, and you've connected with your coach and the other coaches there, John Wood in particular, does a part of you almost wish that you moved back to the States and Vegas in particular earlier, and you stayed in Japan a little too long?
Yeah. I think so.
Do you regret that?
I had no way of knowing. I would have had no way of knowing that until I came to the Ultimate Fighter. So how it happened is how it was meant to happen.
Yeah.
If I came back, I might have joined another gym. Like, it just so happened everything fell into place with how I came back for the Ultimate Fighter and stuff like that.
It's amazing. Obviously, the Ultimate Fighter thing didn't work out, but in a weird way, it did work out for you, right? I mean, that was the catalyst for this revival that you're now experiencing.
Yeah, it really changed my life, and I knew it. That win to get in the house was like the most important win in my career, I think.
And also you beat Valerie Letourneau, who's doing great things in the UFC. Do you follow her? Like, do you kind of hope that she keeps doing better because that's the feather in your cap as far as the UFC is concerned?
Not really. I've always felt, excuse me, kind of like I hope she does well and I hope she gets more opportunities because I got so much good exposure from beating her.
Yeah.
As I like to say, we step on other people's dreams to reach our own. I stepped on hers, so I'm glad that she was able to, come back and do some good things in UFC. But I hope to, do some good things in my career too.
What is it about that gym and the connection that you have with the coaches that has produced this new Roxanne Modaferri?
The coaches here at Syndicate, especially John Wood, have this really great ability to find what I'm good at and kind of build what they want me to learn around that. So, I'm not such a good natural striker, but he's been able to, add techniques to my striking game that have helped me elevate my striking game, help me stay awkward and, just built things around me. And just the way he explains stuff is great. And I have a great team, a lot of lightweight fighters here. Our team's growing even now. We have a bunch of females who, joined the gym and really good female team. We've had people visiting from England and places just to train with us for extended periods of time. So that's pretty cool.
There are a lot of gyms in Vegas. Why did you choose that one?
I had visited a few, and I joined it because I took part in John's class, John Wood's class, and just the way he explained stuff, it was so cool, and I just got it suddenly, like this one, and I said to him, "Could you be my coach?"
Wow!
So
just like that.
Was pretty much him.
It's amazing. You've been doing this for 13 years now. You're approaching your 13-year anniversary, and you've outlasted a lot of the other women that were a part of women, the pioneers, truly pioneers. That is what you are in this sport. Did you expect to be doing this for so long, and how many more years do you want to do this for?
There was a point when I still was in Japan that I thought maybe I'm going to retire soon because my body's always hurting and I feel beat up and this really sucks. But then I came to Vegas and I found like a great chiropractor and masseuse, and my training changed and I felt so great. So right now, in my last 2 fights, my body's never felt, well, it probably has felt better when I was younger, but recently, you know, been feeling really good and in shape. And I don't know, man, as long as my body will hold up, and it's looking pretty good right now. I mean, not like my body's looking good, but I feel pretty good.
Yeah. I know what you mean. So no end in sight.
Yeah.
You haven't said like 35, I'm done. You're just going to keep going.
No. Yep.
Wow. What a story.
I've had a lot of wars, but I've never like really gotten smashed and bloodied and,
sure,
you know, like horribly crushed. So, I mean, that's good, I guess.
Is there one opponent left after all these years that you haven't fought that you'd love to fight?
I think just rematches, pretty much.
Just rematch it. What's the top one? Is it Barb?
It's Barb, and also Hashi Takayo. She's in Japan. You know, I fought her before and I lost, and I was really bummed because she was like a rival of mine. But I don't know. She hasn't fought in a while. I don't know if she's still fighting or what.
Why was she a rival?
But because we went to the same gym,
oh,
and I felt like people were, you know, my teammates were always kind of like coaching her off to the side, and I was a foreigner, and then it was just kind of cool. Like some days she beat me in training, some days I beat her in training, and then
as you were preparing for the fight, wow.
I actually changed gyms, and then we got set to fight.
Oh my gosh, this is like the Overeem Arlovsky situation, sort of.
Except we had said whatever, but
yeah.
I don't know what she's doing, but someday I want to fight her.
By the way, it's a big weekend for women's MMA again this weekend. Chris Cyborg making her UFC debut. Do you give Leslie Smith a chance? Do you think she can beat her?
Leslie Smith is really, really tough.
Yeah.
You know, Cyborg's tough too, so I'm just excited to see a good fight.
Well, who's your prediction? Don't sit on the fence.
But I love sitting on the fence.
Okay, fair enough. It's a very positive take, and that's the theme here. The book is called How to Be Positive, Mental Training by Roxanne Modaferri, the Happy Warrior. I suggest checking it out, and if you go on her website to buy it, you can even get it personally signed by Roxanne herself. So how about that? That is great. Congrats on the book. Thank you for doing it for people like myself, and good luck getting that title fight.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Ariel.
Great to talk to you as always. There she is, Roxanne Modaferri, joining us from Syndicate MMA in Las Vegas, Nevada, doing great things as always over there. That is a good team, a very up-and-coming team, and one of those teams that over the last couple of years in Las Vegas has really put it all together, led by John Wood, who is a great coach. A lot of the fighters speak very highly of him. Okay, just a few minutes left on today's program. And again, do support Roxanne. She is a great fighter. She has been doing this for a long time. And in my opinion, one of the true pioneers of women's MMA. And it's cool to see her still kicking it and also doing well. Okay. Any final thoughts on Rotterdam? Well, Rustam Khabilov, wanted to mention him. He looked fantastic in his win over Chris Wade. Chris Wade, big New York Knicks fan, unfortunately was not his night. Rustam looked great. How about Kyoji Horiguchi? That was super impressive as well, right? The ATT version of Kyoji Horiguchi looks very, very impressive. I kind of wish that he was fighting out of that camp when he fought DJ. What about Demetrius Johnson and his ongoing battle with his fence that he's been power washing? I think he finally accomplished it. Now he's moving on to something else, house related. But it seems like his biggest opponent, his toughest opponent to date, is his house. Those posts crack me up. I don't know why, but I just love him. He actually sends me personal pictures as it continues to go on and on and on. Nikita Krylov with a nice win. Karolina Kowalkiewicz with a solid. That was a great fight as well. All he does is win. Magnus Sedinblad. Josh Emmett, his hand falling off almost, or at least his finger. It was a great card. What else do I got? Oh, yeah, a bunch of fights were announced last week. James Vick versus Beneil Dariush. Remember, we had James Vick on the show last week. Well, he's no longer fighting Evan Dunham. It's now Beneil Dariush. They kind of just didn't even announce that one. We reported it, and then they just put it up on the website. I don't know what's up with that. They also they announced on UFC Tonight that TJ Dillashaw versus Rafael dos Anjos, Rafael Sunsao, 2 is in the works for UFC 200. It is funny how they are announcing like fights in the works, but it's the UFC announcing them. And I wouldn't put that Woodley Lawler one that they announced for 201 in stone just yet. That is a true, sometimes I say that I report in the works, but it's kind of done. That's a true in the works fight. Certainly not set in stone. And there's a lot of things at play there. So it's going to be interesting to see if they finally do go with Woodley on that one. But that was put out. Michael Chiesa versus Tony Ferguson in Sioux City, South Dakota on, July 13th. That was announced as the main event. Michael Chiesa finally getting that main event fight that he's been asking for, and he gets Tony Ferguson. Very interesting, right? Very important fight. I like that fight. It's not Khabib and Ferguson, and you wonder if Ferguson can get a title shot, and does this seal the deal for Khabib as far as winning the sweepstakes to get that title shot, as far as fighting Rafael dos Anjos versus Eddie Alvarez? That fight taking place July 7th. Does this mean that Khabib, who's out for the summer due to Ramadan, does he fight the winner in October or so? I like that it keeps Ferguson active. Chiesa called for it. You see, ask for the fight. Put it out there. This leads to good things. More should do that. Another main event announced, Holly Holm versus Valentina Shevchenko. That is the main event for UFC on Fox 20. I like it. Holm remains active. She fights right around the title fight. I think she deserved the title fight. I think she deserved the rematch. I wish they went that way, but she has to fight. It's a big stage on Fox. It gets her back out there. I don't hate it, and it's a fun matchup. Shevchenko, not a big name, but there weren't any real big matchups out there for her, to be honest. Lauren Murphy said that she thought she turned it down. A couple of fights were offered up. Lauren Murphy, I believe Ashley Evans Smith as well, and Shevchenko. And they went with Shevchenko, which I think is the toughest of the three and the most interesting of the three as well. Glover Teixeira versus Anthony Johnson also added to that card. I told you what I thought about that on the MMA beat last week. To risk for Anthony, to risk for the division, but as far as an actual fight, it's a great fight. I mean, you can't deny that. And also Gilbert Melendez versus Edson Barbosa. We spoke about that earlier as well. UFC announced that they're going to do the Hall of Fame the day after UFC 200, which I think is a little strange. I love the Hall of Fame. I wish they actually made a real Hall of Fame. I wish there was an MMA Hall of Fame one day. But to do it the day after, I think a lot of the media will be gone or traveling. I think a lot of the fans will be gone. I liked it when I like when they do it Friday. I think that they should do the Hall of Fame Friday night after the weigh-ins, give people something to do. Well, it doesn't work anymore because they do that show. So scrap that idea. How about Friday morning before the weigh-ins, before the Friday night show? Saturday afternoon felt a little too rushed, and we're all kind of focused on the Saturday event. I would do it Friday morning and give it the attention that it deserves. I like that they're keeping up with it, but I wish that they put it in a better spot. Sunday seems strange. Like, I'll be going home then. And I know they don't really care about me, but I suspect a lot of the other media after 3 straight events will be going home as well. World Series of Fighting announcing that they're doing a brother versus brother fight. The Jones brothers. No, Fodor brothers. I call them Jones. Phoenix Jones. The crime fighter against Carlos Fodor. Sort of a half brother. It's not blood brothers. It's more Frank Shamrock versus Ken Shamrock than real blood brothers. But nevertheless, they're reaching with that one. Don't love it. But they're not blood brothers, so that would be weird. And again, UFC 198. By the way, Chuck Mindenhall, our own Chuck Mindenhall, will have a story out on that fight in the near future. UFC 198. I'll quickly run down the card for you, and then I'll say goodbye. How about some of these fights? I mean, really. Yancy Medeiros, Francisco Trinaldo, Patrick Cummins versus Antonio Rogerio Nogueira. That's on the Fight Pass. And then it gets really interesting. John Lineker versus Rob Font. Let me look at these odds here. John Lineker versus Rob Font. So Medeiros is a slight underdog. Cummins is a slight favorite. Minus 241, 235. I should say. John Lineker, a slight favorite, minus 199, plus 171. Leslie Smith, holy moly, Leslie Smith, plus 1190 versus minus 990. Wow. Who's taking a flyer on Leslie Smith? Plus 1190? Wow, that is wild. Not saying I'm surprised, but it's just crazy to see that. Matt Brown versus Damian Maia. Damian Maia is the favorite, minus 272 versus plus 257. Nate Marquardt, totally flying under the radar, plus 288 versus minus 352 against Thiago Santos. Thiago Santos is a pretty big favorite in that fight. How about Warlley Alves? This is a great card. Warlley Alves versus Brian Barberena, minus 528 versus plus 422. Barberena, hey, congratulations on beating Sage Northcutt. Here's Warlley Alves. Enjoy that. Shogun Hua, plus 208. Wow, Shogun Hua, an underdog against the minus 200 Corey Anderson. How about that? Plus 206 to be exact. My eyesight is wonky. Uriah Hall, plus 120 against Anderson Silva. Minus 120, kind of close. Vitor Belfort, plus 269 against Jacare Souza, minus 290. And then how about this one? Plus 140 for Stipe Miocic against Verdum, Fabricio Verdum to be exact, minus 147. That's a super close heavyweight title fight. So you got to love that. There's really something for everyone on this card. And Bellator also that night with King Mo versus Mr. Wonderful. And you heard on this show, 8 to 10 Bellator, and then you'll have the pay-per-view, so you can really watch everything at the same time. Again, the FS1 prelim's fantastic as well, so you can't go wrong on Saturday. It's going to be another fun night in our sport, and then we will be back on Monday to recap the whole damn thing, and then to look there's no time. Alistair Overeem can't even get 24 hours to celebrate his win because now we're talking about 198. That's the state of MMA. It never stops. But we are done. You can hit my music. Thank you very much, by the way, to the good people at SeatGeek for joining the team and sponsoring today's show. I appreciate that. It never stops in MMA. The fun never stops. It goes on and on and on and on. So much going on. Bama's back this weekend as well. Champion versus champion. That is a pretty good card for Bama. They're slowly but surely doing some good things. MMA beat back as well on Thursday, so we'll obviously have a lot to discuss as we gear up for UFC 198. Again, a reminder, I will not be at 198, so I'll be in studio this week for the MMA beat. I want to thank Marc Raimondi for stopping by twice. Appreciate his time, as always. Great insight. Thank you very much to Ben Rothwell. Great stuff from him. Looking forward to his next fight. How about Gegard Mousasi? Tremendous stuff. Enjoy talking to him as always. Really coming out of his shell, getting comfortable in front of the media and fans. Thank you very much to the legend, Randy Couture. Good luck with the VOW fights this weekend in San Jose. Thank you very much to Scott Coker, Bellator CEO. Best of luck at 154. Big ups to Gilbert Melendez. Great stuff from him. Looking forward to his fight on July 23rd. Thank you very much to Alistair Overeem. Congratulations to him. Thank you very much to Stefan Struve. Congratulations to him. And thank you very much to Roxanne Modaferri. Go check out her book. Back next week, same time and place. Until then, I say peace. Come out of here.